The 2025 NFL Draft Show. One of a kind, the first of its kind here at WFUV, as far as I know, as far as I've been here. And I'm pumped. Boys, I'm pumped. How's it going, everybody? Will Tallant here with you. Alongside me, Evan Harkin, Tucker Austin, Jack Warner, Brendan Shorey in the back. They will make appearances as well. And we're probably going to be joined by Eli Keeler and maybe even Lou Orlando at some point. But a very, very special programming here tonight. If you want to join the conversation, as always, dial 718-817-2750. We'll be taking callers throughout the night. You'll see our live reactions to tonight's draft starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And it is in Green Bay. The two New York locals, the 3rd overall pick for the New York Giants, the 7th overall pick for the New York Jets. And as you could probably tell, I think we're going to start this show out with the Giants in that number 3 spot. But Evan and Tucker, guys, how are we feeling tonight?
I couldn't be more excited for the draft, for every draft, but specifically for this draft. Like you said, got the two New York teams up there in the top 10 like they usually are. It's not like they're not usually there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a different year. We get to get some hope, which I think New York football fans don't get a lot of, but this is the time of year where that hopium really comes from right here in the draft. So couldn't be more excited, especially as a Giants fan, for any draft, but specifically for this 2025 draft.
This draft is going to be huge for the Giants. This is going to determine how the franchise kind of goes forward for the next couple of years. Obviously, they made moves in the offseason so far to shore up the quarterback position. So when we thought this draft was going to be about quarterbacks, it's sort of moved away from that. But then there's also kind of been a movement even more recently of going back towards maybe a quarterback in the first round. So regardless, I totally agree. I'm super excited for this draft, but I also I can't say I'm not a little bit scared because there's always two sides to a coin when it comes to the NFL draft. You can either make a great pick that becomes an absolute stud and a cornerstone of your franchise for the foreseeable future, or this could put the Giants even further into the basement of the NFL, which is where Giants fans kind of find themselves right now, or at least it feels that way.
Well, we'll have a lot of different draft talk, not just about the Giants and the Jets, about everybody. We'll go through the first 7 picks tonight. Otherwise, we'd be here for a very long time until they kick us out, and we don't want that.
No.
But we'll have a lot of draft coverage here for you. We'll have the first 7 picks of the first round live. You'll see our reactions. We'll hear Roger Goodell's voice as the pick goes in and is announced. But let's start it right now with those New York football Giants. Tucker, as you were saying, the conversations went from quarterback, no doubt. They were going to get Cam Ward. Then they said, 45 points against a team in playoff contention in the Indianapolis Colts. They squashed those dreams for the Colts and squashed their dreams of getting Cam Ward. And Shadur Sanders, son of Hall of Fame Deion Primetime Sanders, was the focal point, we'll say, of the Giants draft discussions early on, I would say around week 15, 16 of the NFL season when everything was starting to get set in stone as in what the draft order would look like. And here we are in April now. And Sanders went as far as wearing New York Giants cleats during a game with the Colorado Buffs. And I don't think that's going to be the case. So let's start right there. Initial thoughts right away. Which direction, Evan, are the Giants going? Are they going to go defense? Are they going to go offense? Do they opt for a quarterback? What is the plan of attack in your mind for the Giants?
I think at 3 for the New York Giants, it's a no-brainer. I think Travis Hunter will be gone, and I think Abdul Carter will be sitting there. The next coming of Micah Parsons. Everyone knows if you can't go get a quarterback, go get someone that can go get the other team's quarterback. And who will become soon Micah Parsons' level.
He did wear his number.
He did wear his number, is Abdul Carter. And, I mean, if you watch any Abdul Carter highlights, it's scary to watch. Not only the size, the physicality, the anticipation of what the offense is going to run, but the hands are so big for me. No one gets their hands on Abdul Carter first. He's so quick with it, and that's something that really translates into the NFL. Now, I wouldn't say the Giants aren't going to get a quarterback at all in this draft, but I'd say that number 3 spot belongs to Abdul Carter with the mentality, if you don't have a quarterback, go get the other teams. We know the Giants in this century of the 2000s have only won Super Bowls not when having the better quarterback than the other team, but having a beast defensive line that can go get the other team's quarterback. So I think they go Abdul Carter at 3.
I like that a lot, and I think, especially like if Travis Hunter is off the board, and assumedly the Browns will make that selection at 2 if they don't trade out of that spot to give somebody else the rights to Travis. But yeah, I really think the Giants are going to go after Abdul Carter here, not just because he is arguably the best player all around in this draft, but because the Giants need to shore up their run defense a little bit. Last year, it was one of, if not the worst run defense in the NFL. And it wasn't a year when they were expecting the defense to fall apart like that because they made so many additions last offseason. But you bring in a younger gun like Abdul Carter, but not an inexperienced guy, mind you. He played very, very good defense for a long time at Penn State. So I would love Abdul Carter at 3 here. But, we've been talking about how... a little bit before the show started, that the Giants are apparently in the market for another pick in the first round.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
I think we should because, say they get Abdul at 3. Mm-hmm. That kind of opens things up a little bit because now, the pressure of getting that, best possible player but also trying to fit the need, doesn't help with Cam Ward coming off the board at least probably 1 to the Titans. And then, Shedeur Sanders, I don't think should go in the top 5 anymore. So it doesn't make sense for the Giants to pick a Q above 5. Mm-hmm. But if they trade into another first-round pick, maybe below 10, I think there will be a quarterback on the board in that stretch that could work out for the Giants. I kind of want them to avoid Shedeur Sanders just because, obviously everything that's come out with the NFL coach who spoke out about him in the past couple of days. But also just in general, from watching him for 2 seasons at Colorado, I was you can't really watch him and not be kind of impressed, but I wasn't over the moon impressed with Shedeur Sanders. I have my reservations about Jackson Dart as well, but it seems to me like Jackson Dart is probably the next best option after Cam Ward. I'm also a little partial to Jalen Milroe, but he's ranked as the 5th best quarterback in this draft, and I can't imagine he goes higher than the 2nd round. So if the Giants are trading into round 1 for a 2nd pick and want a quarterback, it's probably going to be Dart or Milroe for me.
They have to be dead red if they're going into, let's say, 15 to 22 range on Jalen Milroe, if that's who they are trading up for. He's got to be that guy if that's the guy that they end up selecting if they do trade in. Looking at the draft order right now, you got Titans at 1, Browns at 2, Giants at 3, Pats 4, Jags 5, Raiders 6, Jets 7, Panthers 8, Saints 9, Bears 10 to wrap up the top 10. Let's look at 8 down. All of those teams don't need a quarterback. The Giants have a lot of room to make some kind of trade where they don't sacrifice a ton of capital and get the guy that they want. To me, I'm partial to Jackson Dart as well. We had talked about this a little bit as the season ended, Evan, via Twitter, what it could look like. Travis Hunter at 3, or Carter wasn't really in the discussion yet.
Yeah.
But now I'm all for Abdul Carter. I think that's the way to go. We'll circle back on that in just a second. But what our conversation was pertaining to was Hunter in the 1st round and then stay in the 2nd round for Dart. Because if I'm not mistaken, they have the 2nd pick in the 2nd round. That's a very valuable pick to have. That would be pick number 34.
They do.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's a very, very solid pick for anyone that is, I would say, let's say at 14 and lower. So that's the Colts, and everyone else lower than that does not need a quarterback. They can do whatever with their 1st round pick. The Giants get back into the 1st round. All these teams are playoff teams too as well, and will most likely be playoff teams again this upcoming season. So you get a nice 2nd round pick. You could then turn that into an impact player at the deadline, before the season starts, whatever. There's a lot of different avenues and angles the Giants can take to get back into that 1st round and grab that quarterback. For me, I want to get back on Abdul Carter for just a second. That's the pick. There shouldn't be any question about it. And I'll give my thoughts on why there could be a question about it. But Abdul Carter, All-American this year. He won the Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten. He led the nation in 24 tackles for a loss to go with 12 sacks. Great career at Penn State. He was very solid his freshman and sophomore year. He played in 13 games in both of those seasons. This year, his junior year, obviously being the monster one where he will be a top 3 pick no matter what. But I think one angle that we can look at this is that Brian Dable, Joe Shane, job's on the line no matter what happens tonight. The job is on the line for both of them regardless. I see a world, and I read this today, and I was really thinking about it like, yeah, this could really happen. John Mara steps in and says, this is my team. We're going with so-and-so at number 3.
Yeah.
If so-and-so is Jackson Dart, I don't love that. I don't love Jackson Dart at 3. I really don't, given exactly what we just talked about. After the 7th pick, nobody needs a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Don't need that. Go with the best player available. I'm sorry you're not going to be this juggernaut offense. You can be a hell of a defense, though. You really can if you get an Abdul Carter. John Mara could step up and say, I want Shadur Sanders. Not a fan of that either. You can also wait to get Shadur, how it's looking right now, in the 2nd round.
Yeah, he's just dropping.
They don't even need to be.
Going.
They don't even need to be a juggernaut offense, though. That's
No.
the thing too.
No.
Like you don't have to be the most explosive
You just
offense
don't
in
need
the
your
NFL.
defense on
like,
the field the entire game. That's why they lost a lot of games last year.
Yeah.
The defense played all of the minutes.
Yeah.
So let's look at a world now where maybe the Browns trade out of that 2nd pick and someone else jumps there. I don't know who, but maybe.
I mean, the only reason somebody jumps up there is to get Travis, right?
Right.
There's no way they take anybody else trading with the Browns
unless they
for that
really
pick.
want Abdul Carter.
Oh.
That's true. But then if Abdul Carter goes, I am totally cool with, like, if you leave a Heisman on the table.
That's what I want to bring in to
if
the
a
conversation.
Heisman is available at 3, you're taking the Heisman at 3.
Travis Hunter, if he falls to the Giants, thoughts on that? How would the Giants utilize him, being that this is a once in a lifetime, really, that we've ever seen athlete in the NFL that can play wide receiver and cornerback at his level? How would this impact the Giants?
It will make the Giants so much better. I do not like the Travis Hunter hate. I'm actually a believer that he will break that barrier and be the first player to really play both sides of the ball. I mean, you saw Deion Sanders do it where they'd really only use him maybe once or twice in a game. I think Travis Hunter is that good, is that athletic. We saw him do it against the top teams in college football last year. Even in college, he was doing it way more than, say, Charles Woodson, Jabril Peppers, those guys that were going both ways, but maybe it was once or twice a game. They were never really
took a
solid guy like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, Travis Hunter is not like them. He is different in every way. He's shown it. We were watching Travis Hunter make unbelievable catches before and then unbelievable pick sixes. We were actually having a conversation, me and Tucker, who's going to tackle him once he catches a pick? Nobody. Like, he is that good of an athlete. I don't think it's even a question if he's sitting there as late as 3 to go and get him. And if quarterbacks weren't so important, he'd obviously be the first pick in this draft.
There is a really weird situation now with the Giants wide receiver room, though, because obviously Malik Neighbors exists, and he is wide receiver 1.
Yes.
The Giants made that
100%.
very clear when they drafted him. You unretire the number for him.
Yeah.
And like roll out the red carpets for Malik Neighbors. He is the guy at wide receiver. What do you do with 2 dogs in the wide receiver room who both want to be leaders? So like that's where it just gets kind of weird with that, and with the fact that the Giants also just paid Darius Slayton significant money to stick around. So now you have to try and balance the fact that they're paying Darius Slayton, they're going to have to pay Malik once his rookie deal is up, and then they're going to have to pay Travis in the scenario where Travis is drafted by the Giants. They're going to have to pay him, and they're not even going to have to pay him just as a wide receiver. They're probably going to have to pay him as a wideout and as a D-back, which can only make the price tag go up like much more significantly than for anybody else. And especially for a guy that young, his price is going to be very weirdly inflated because of how much he actually plays.
That's the one red flag that you just mentioned, Tucker, that I have with Travis Hunter. And it's not about him personally or as a player, because he would benefit the Giants greatly, I think, on either side of the ball. The fact that you would use a number 3 overall pick on a wide receiver, now he can play cornerback for you at an elite level, but you're drafting a number 1 wide receiver as well that you don't need. The Giants are not in a position to draft a wide receiver at all. Need to see a 8 to a 10 win season and have the adequate pick with the right wide receiver class to say, we're going to take a wide receiver in the first round to pair with Malik Neighbors. Similarly, not the same as the Bengals. It's really not the same. But T. Higgins, 2nd round pick, Jamar Chase, 5th overall pick. The Giants are not in a position to do that. They don't have an answer at quarterback. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are the bridge guys. That's not an answer. That's an answer for this year. Stacking the wide receiver room right now is not the way to go. It gives me shades of Saquon, where the team was not ready to take on the kind of offensive prowess that Saquon Barkley had, albeit he was amazing for the Giants. The Giants were not ready for him. Now look at him. He's in a situation where a team was ready for him and they win the Super Bowl and he rushes for 2,000 yards. I don't want the Giants to back themselves into a corner. Stick with what is hot for you right now, and that's defense. Sure, did they suck with the pass rush? Or not the pass rush, just rush defense in general? They weren't great. This defense has a lot of talent on it. They had a great offseason. They get Paulson Adebo, and they get Javon Holland to solidify that secondary. Those are 2 very good veterans to have. Their defensive line is still very solid. Everyone's returning. And in your linebacking core, you can use another linebacker. That's another plus with Abdul Carter. You want him as an edge rusher. He can play linebacker too, though. You can stack him right next to Bobby Okereke, and this defense would be just fine. But that's going to do it for this segment. We're going to jump into a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Jets for just a little bit. We'll head back into another break, and then the draft's going to start, and we're just going to spitball from there, and we'll have live reactions for you right here from the Rose Hill Studios here on WFUV Sports. We'll be right back.
Stereophonic sound for the home is recorded on 2 separate tracks, each one giving special emphasis to certain sections of the orchestra, as heard from those positions. Now, when played back simultaneously on 2 separate systems, the sounds are blended together to achieve a new dimension in sound, impossible to obtain in a monaural recording.
Jets, Jets. If you're a Jets fan, it's time. You may consider this your Super Bowl if you're a Jets fan right here. Evan Harkin alongside Jack Warner and Brendan Shorey. And this is a little bit of Jets talk here on our draft night special here for WFUV Sports. The Jets have the 7th pick in this year's draft. And there's a lot of speculation. You know, I think a lot of people think they might go Tyler Warren, tight end. They might go Armand Membu, tackle. But I think we should take a look at what the Jets have done in the past on draft night a little bit first. Because the first thing I actually saw on Instagram this morning when I opened it up was the Jets drafting tight end Kyle Brady. You might not know him. It's because he was really bad.
Yeah.
Over Warren Sapp.
Yep.
You probably know who Warren Sapp is. He's one of the best NFL players ever. So, do you guys think that the Jets maybe have learned from the past? What do you think the Jets are doing here?
I mean, when you look throughout the 2010s, I know we were laughing about it before the show. When you looked at it, was a mixture of just didn't pan out, just didn't really work into their scheme. A couple of them, it was decent player, maybe even an early Pro Bowl appearance, but overshadowed by off the field issues. It's certainly not the most prized history in the draft, but if you look more recently, I do think they found their footing. I mean, it was 2022 where you saw Sauce Gardner enter the picture, Garrett Wilson enter the picture, Jermaine Johnson enter the picture, even 2023 when Will McDonald enters the picture. I think they've obviously had more luck in recent drafts in sort of assessing where their weaknesses were and adding more skill-related players, right? But I think what you've seen more recently, and even though they had these successful drafts recently, is really not everything gelling as a unit. Either the pass rush being really poor or not having enough reliable targets, which I think makes an interesting case for taking Tyler Warren here in the draft, because they did have a lot of talented options as singular players, as guys that they have as on the field as that are contributors, but at the same time there were always these big gaping holes in defense and offense where you really never saw them fully gel. And even these more recent draft picks, it's not about the fact that they brought in these more skilled recent guys, but they haven't really fully addressed those needs that they've so desperately needed to over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
To me, they look very cyclical with their draft strategy. I mean, you look 2017, they go get Jamal Adams, who was a great player while he was on the Jets for them. 2018, Sam Darnold, we saw what happened there.
Right.
And then they bounced back, Quinnen Williams in 2019 in the first round. Then you have Mekhi Becton in the first round in 2020. All right pick, not a great pick, not a terrible pick.
Yeah.
He's good now, but
He is good now.
His tenure as a Jet obviously
not
wasn't
great.
the, wasn't
They
the
didn't know how to
prettiest.
use him.
No.
2021, Zach Wilson. We saw what happened with that pick.
Oh yeah.
But then, like you mentioned, Jack, they've bounced back. 2022, you go get Sauce, you go get Garrett Wilson and Jermaine Johnson. You followed up with Will McDonald in 23, Olu Fashanu last year in 2024, and now a big hole that they could go kind of a few different ways this year. So it does seem to me like they're very cyclical. They'll have their years where they are terrible in the draft, and they'll have a few decent years, and they'll have another year where they draft an absolute bust. So to me, it's very interesting to see what they do with this number 7 pick.
I think the Jets are also in an interesting place right now because I think there's a few different avenues they can go where neither of them would be a bad choice. And maybe some of that is indicative of it being kind of a failing team right now. But I don't think going for an offensive tackle is the worst idea in the world. I know Aaron Rodgers spent a whopping amount of this last season on his backside. He did not have great protection. That offensive line was kind of a turnstile. So if they needed to sort of bolster that protection for whoever the starter is next year, whether it's Justin Fields, I'm guessing that's probably what it'll end up being. But at the same time, like going the tight end route or going the maybe not a wide receiver route. I mean, maybe it wouldn't hurt, but I don't think that would be the top of their list right now. But tight end kind of addresses two issues at once where you get another receiving option because again they were very poor last year through the air. It was their pass offense was really, really bad. And I think it's a weird spot where they have a bunch of different needs that kind of need to be holes that need to be filled. So I'm curious to see which direction they do take it with this first round pick. But again, I think they're in that spot where I don't think if they try to focus on just upholstering their offensive line or focus on just upholstering their receiving options, I don't think either of those are necessarily a bad direction to take things.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's so many ways you can go there because you have so many problems. It's kind of a bad thing, but in a good thing when it's on draft night.
It makes draft night a bit
little
easier, but it makes the next 12 months not really any easier.
It makes the next 12 months same old Jets a little bit, but I kind of want to get who you guys think they will pick. Now, I actually picked Tyler Warren, and that was a switch for me. I originally was on the same train as I think most people when I'd say Armand Membu, the offensive tackle, that everyone thinks the Jets are going to pick there. And I think the point you made, Jack, where you're kind of killing two birds with one stone if you pick Tyler Warren, because not only is he a beast in the receiving game. He's no Kyle Pitts-esque tight end.
No.
He will get in the three-point stance and go block somebody. He was actually blocking Abdul Carter at Penn State during practice all the time. And he's actually gotten NFL draft comparisons only to none other than Rob Gronkowski.
Which is phenomenal company to be.
Yeah, only because he is that good of a blocker, and you don't see tight ends like that. They also missed out on Brock Bowers last year. Now, they got Olu, like you said. I think they're fine with that. You know, you get a left tackle who's the best rookie tackle in the NFL. You're fine with that. Brock Bowers, I think we can all agree, him and Tyler Warren are going to lead the tight ends in this league. They're the new school, the new generation. You know, maybe the Jets go and get him. Another reason why I think it might be Tyler Warren is a quarterback's best friend is a tight end.
For sure.
And Tyler Warren, when you have a guy like Justin Fields, you know, the accuracy is the question. The question is, can he throw the ball well? When you have a safety blanket like Tyler Warren, every NFL quarterback will tell you they love throwing to their safety blanket, their tight end. Tyler Warren's that guy. I think they go Tyler Warren here. Where do you guys think they go?
You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. I got Membu. I think they need to shore up that offensive line. You got the left tackle last year with Fashanu. Go get yourself a right tackle, a franchise guy here with Membu. I think you look at this draft class and you have between 8 and 10 tight ends in the top 200 prospects, where I think you can go and grab a guy in the second round or grab a guy in the third round to give Justin Fields that security blanket. But I'm going to prioritize the offensive line here and go protect your quarterback that you just brought in. See what he can do when he's being protected, when he's not being rushed, and we'll get you weapons in the later rounds. You can go get a guy like, I'm coming with a little bias here, but Gunnar Helm from Texas. I watched him a lot this last year.
Yeah.
You can go get a Gunnar Helm in the third round, in the fourth round, and there's still going to be good tight end options later in the draft where I say go get Membu.
I think the receiving options are going to last pretty far into this draft. I think there's going to be prospects that'll be these late round steals that I think if you want to go back to the drawing board and try to assess, you know, sort of broadening the targets that you have for Justin Fields next year, then I think that would kind of shy me away from taking Tyler Warren, even though I love the way that Tyler Warren projects because, as you mentioned, he's that dual threat where he is a good blocker but is also a fantastic receiver. And he was one of the core pieces of that Penn State offense. Drew Aller was no stranger to connecting with Tyler Warren. So, you know, you've seen a guy who already got those reps in college on a successful team, a college football playoff team, that was able to be one of the core pieces of that offense. It just wasn't some role player that maybe catches passes well on the side or maybe is a good blocker. Like, no, you saw somebody who is a cornerstone of that Penn State offense. So I do see the upside to going right ahead and taking somebody that, as we mentioned, kind of kills two birds with one stone, right? Addresses adding more targets and also addresses that offensive line. I'm also going to go Membu for a very similar reason to Shorey, because you're bringing in Justin Fields almost, even though it's kind of crazy to speak as somebody as talented as Justin Fields, as kind of a project. Like, it's short term right now. You're looking to see if this is going to be the fit. I do think he could fit really well as a New York Jet, but obviously there's a lot to figure out this season, and they're going to give him the run, and they're going to give him the opportunity to do that. But I think they're in a very important position right now with somebody as talented and projectable as Justin Fields, who it's crazy to say projectable as though he hasn't already been in the NFL, but his reps really have been limited in comparison to other guys that were in his draft classes and the draft before and after. So I think in being in such an interesting place with your quarterback situation right now, I think the most important focus is upholstering that offensive line. And what I've seen from Membu so far, obviously watching a lot of film, looking at the different, offensive linemen who are available in this draft class, he's one of the most mobile, athletic linemen that I've really gotten the chance to sort of tap into and really learn about as we look at this top prospects list. He's a very technically sound lineman. He's somebody that I think does he sound like the most glamorous pick? No, because it's very rare that an offensive tackle is a glamorous pick. They're not as much the glamour type position. But I do think that right now with what the Jets are working with, it's obvious that this team is not going to be an AFC title contender or maybe even a playoff contender. We know that. So it's more about what puts them in the best position this upcoming season to figure things out with the talent that they've brought in and with the changes that they've made. And me personally, I think that's bringing Membu in, who is possibly the most athletic tackle in this draft class.
Yeah, I think you made a great point about how good he really is. It's Will Campbell, Membu, and then the rest of the offensive linemen.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right,
there.
and I was about to say that is under the assumption that Campbell's already going to be gone.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, which we will. We will go with the assumption that he will be gone, obviously, right there. But for the Jets, maybe a little bit of a problem that you have so many ways you can go, but in a way, it makes
the
draft
decision.
night
It makes
a little bit
decision.
easier.
It makes the decision a bit tougher, but at the same time, then it comes down to, I think, as Shorey and I were kind of referring to, is like the outlook for next season. Because even though, as I kind of said before, that like this isn't a team with high expectations or a high ceiling, at the same time, that doesn't make this next season not important.
Right.
And it doesn't make this next season not pivotal for figuring things out and what the next few seasons after that are going to look like.
The good thing about having so many needs is that there are probably 6 or 7 right picks they could
Right.
have.
There's so many right
For sure.
answers. Right,
Absolutely.
Right. Well, we don't know who the Jets are going to pick just yet. Might be Membu, might be Tyler Warren, could be Shedeur Sanders. So we don't know right now.
That would be a crazy
which
one.
would be crazy, but I wouldn't put it all the way past the Jets. We know what they do in their draft history.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson. He made one throw at Pro Day, and they were like, that's our
That's
guy.
our guy.
That's our guy right there.
But we'll see who the Jets draft. Actually, as this draft is beginning to start up, we'll head to a quick little break and be back with more of our WFUV Sports draft special right after this.
Hi, this is Ben Oppenheimer reminding you to tune in to New York's longest-running sports call-in show, One on One. Catch One on One live on the WFUV Sports YouTube channel every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then later on 90.7 FM from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. We'll catch you next Saturday on One on One.
With someone you are. With someone you are. With Ava. With Ava. With
Welcome back. NFL Draft 2025 live show here on WFUV Sports. Will Tallant back with you with Brendan Shorey and Tucker Austin as we await the Titans pick. The pick is in.
It's in.
And
Oh, my
let's
goodness.
listen to Roger Goodell. Is he stepping up to the stage?
The Greenway was too small.
Oh, okay. So he's doing some, like, he's saying something about Green Bay first, and they're booing him.
It makes sense.
That's great.
course,
That's
of
great
course.
audio, actually.
Over 125,000 people here and still counting.
I feel like Detroit was bigger, no? Was that not a larger crowd in Detroit?
I don't know. You saw the crowd out
The crowd
front.
looked pretty big, but that's
Yeah.
kind of a small number for what we saw.
Yeah.
It looked bigger than it is.
It seems like he's doing his opening remarks, right? And then he'll say, if they're on the clock. Well, you could keep playing it over there, Jack. Let's hear what he's
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
Let's hear what Kamish has
What does he have
for
to
the
say?
congregation.
Oh, God. I'm getting so antsy now for this Giants pick, dude. This is bad.
Fired up. I live for this.
Crowd does sound pretty electric. I can't lie. It sounds like they're having a good time. To be in Green Bay, Wisconsin, like outdoors at this hour, I don't know how cold it is out there right now. I imagine it's cold.
Can't be warm, I'll tell you that much.
No.
And bring hope to every NFL team. And we may have a few.
Lil Wayne
I heard
on
something
stage.
about Lil Wayne back there.
Wow.
But first,
That's awesome.
let's hear from some of your Packer greats.
Bah.
Please welcome Clay Matthews.
They're just
Clay
gonna
Matthews,
just keep the
former
land.
linebacker,
Keep
Super
landing,
Bowl
that's fine.
champion.
How long is the pick going to be in before they announce it?
Yeah, Jack, does it say it's in on the screen?
Because they look,
Okay.
they might still be.
Are they on the clock, though?
I'm on green.
Okay.
A lot of Packer greats they're bringing
James
out.
Jones,
And Eli Keeler
Packer
is out the
superfan.
door, too.
Oh,
He's
Oh,
here.
wow. The pick is in. It's Eli Keeler,
Yeah.
first overall.
Eli Keeler at the
I
door.
can't believe
He's
it.
going to join us on the show momentarily.
I'm gonna go off script here real quick, Roger, but I just got off the phone with the president, Donald Trump. He asked me to pass a message along to all 32 NFL franchises. So let me tell you what it reads here, all right?
Oh, boy.
It says, "My fellow Americans, the Bears still suck."
Whoa.
I love that.
Whoa.
I love that.
Strong
Whoa.
words from the President of the United States.
I'm sorry, Roger. I'm sorry.
Tough division. The Bears are in, so he may not be wrong on this front.
Dude, the Bears, I feel so bad for the Bears at this point because now the draft has been in Detroit and then Green Bay in back-to-back years, and they've
Yeah.
just
They
spent
need
the
their
last
get-
2 years
They
getting
need their
dunked
get
on.
back. They need their get back soon.
And they drafted Caleb Williams last year, too, and they were still getting dunked on the whole time.
It's time to get the show started.
Oh, here we go.
Are you ready?
Let us know, Raj.
The
king of
2025
slams.
NFL Draft is now officially
Oh,
open.
watch. Now they're going to put the Titans on the clock.
Yeah.
They better have this pick immediately.
It's
They are
never
on
like that.
the clock.
Better be.
Okay.
Titans on the clock, baby.
All right.
We're
so
drafting in
let's
2025.
talk about it. Let's talk about it. We'll circle back with Commissioner Roger Goodell when the pick is officially in and they are getting ready to announce that pick. That pick is going to be Cam Ward.
Yes.
I think we can all agree on
It
that.
better be Cam Ward.
Let's talk about one quarterback, though, that we just noticed something about because we know the pick is going to be Cam Ward. If it's not, there's another. There's something else to talk about.
This
But
was huge.
Tucker and I on production for that Jets segment, and they cut to the Sanders sofa. I guess.
And dude, this was
in their
after
house.
this was after they showed Cam Ward sitting like very quietly in his chair with a very straight look on his face. And then they cut to Travis Hunter in his like pink jacket with his family and stuff, and they're all just talking it up. They cut to the Sanders room. Will, you want to take it?
Sure, yeah. And nobody was on the couch. It was just a screen of their green suede sofa with two legendary pillows, and the word was just legendary on the pillow. It wasn't an actually like metaphorically speaking. It wasn't a legendary pillow. It literally said legendary on it, and there was no one in between those pillows.
They cut to an empty
yeah.
room
Yeah.
for Shedeur Sanders. You want to know what I said to Will when that happened? I said
He's not getting drafted today.
half of the
you go.
teams in the room just scratched his name off their list.
Was he on their list?
But honestly, at this point, maybe not.
Probably
but anybody who
just
had
the
him,
Saints, really.
yeah,
Well,
like yeah, it was the
realistically,
Saints.
yeah.
Because as of today, Jackson Dart was actually the odds-on favorite to be the second quarterback on the
Yes,
board.
absolutely. I mean,
Still, I think that's an awful look. That
it is bad.
It's
maybe
terrible.
maybe it's just like some kind of like a screw up between like production staff and
I
like
don't know,
somebody was
though.
supposed to talk to
I don't
Shedeur and like
know.
you're supposed to be in the room at this time when we cut to you, but it's like
They were pretty
I
vocal
don't know,
about
it's
not
pretty
being
weird.
there. At least Shedeur was vocal about not attending the draft at the end of
Wow.
the college football season. Do you remember that?
But why are we even setting up like a room? You know,
It's
It
Shedeur
can't- it
Sanders.
can't- that can't be the move. Really?
Well,
you're trying to
He was
project.
a consensus first-round pick.
Consensus top
Well,
three.
at least, right? Like for the entire college football season and up until probably last week. And now he may not even go in the first round. This is big time stuff. Is Shedeur Sanders going to be a first round pick? I can't believe we're asking this question right now.
I don't know anymore. I don't think so.
I would have said yeah. I would have said either the Saints at 9 or the Steelers at 21. But everything that's happened in the past couple of days makes me think no.
Let's talk about the Steelers for a second, though, too. Is it the right move to take a quarterback at that spot? Because they don't even have one. Who's going to start for them? Mason Rudolph? Didn't he go back there?
Yeah.
So are they going to take a rookie at, what was it, 20 or 21?
21.
21 and start that guy with George Pickens and DK Metcalf? I don't know, man.
I mean, that's where I would have placed Jackson Dart ideally. I feel like that's probably looking team-wise the best fit for him.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh God. They really need a
So
quarterback.
I'd be shocked if
bad.
they didn't take Sanders if he was there. I don't know which other way they would
Well, he's
go.
probably gonna be now, right? I
He
can't
should be.
imagine.
I
Shedeur
think
isn't
he's
available
totally
down
going to
there.
be there. He's totally going to be there. Like what we were saying in the first segment, the first 3 picks need quarterbacks. One of them will take a quarterback. The other 2 will not. No other team on here, with the exception of the Raiders, who are not going to take a quarterback. They're going to take Genty if he falls.
He's not falling.
Okay, wait. Let's sidetrack here because I read something while we were sitting back there, Tucker. Jags, Browns deal to swap picks. Close. Not imminent, but close.
That's interesting.
It
Okay.
is. Jay Glazer report.
So
There's traction on a deal to swap the 3rd
Oh,
and the
God.
5th overall picks.
So the
in this
Jags
draft.
are looking
or the
for
second,
Travis then.
the second and 5th.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the
Yeah.
second and the
So the
5th.
Jags want Travis.
they
That's
no,
where they
the
would
Jags
go.
want Abdul.
Really?
Yeah,
How so?
I think. I mean, they need D line. They need corner too, but they need D line.
Tell me one weapon they have outside Brian Thomas Jr. Engram's gone. Kirk's gone.
Yeah, Etienne's
Fair
not even
enough.
a-
He wants to
he's
play-
not even a weapon.
He wants
really.
to play as a wideout, right? Primarily.
He wants to do both.
I know he wants to do both, but didn't he say he had one that he was leaning more towards, and wasn't it wide receiver? Or yeah,
Maybe.
I don't know.
There's a
I'm
lot-
still, dude. Now that we're talking about somebody trading up into 2 to steal Abdul Carterway, I'm pretty much freaked out about it now. Like basically trying to concoct a way for it to
I'm
happen.
reading another report here. If the Browns do trade
pick is in
down-
for the Titans.
The pick is in?
Yeah, finally.
Okay,
God, it took
we'll
him
get to this
forever.
Browns situation in just a minute, but let's hear from Roger Goodell. Not
It's gonna
yet?
take him. It's gonna take him a
It's
minute.
gonna take
I
him a
imagine.
minute?
And we might be on a delay too.
True.
I imagine we are.
Well, Jack, you just signal to us when he's
Yeah,
walking out
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
stage. and
Nobody
we'll,
look. Nobody look at your draft.
Yeah,
projections
no Twitter.
if it
Everyone get
pops
off
up.
Twitter right now. But let's briefly continue this conversation about the Browns and
Yeah.
maybe moving out of the 2nd overall pick.
Mhm.
I'm reading another report that says if the Browns do move down to 5 with Jacksonville, there is a likelihood that they move down even further with the Bears, which is still pretty high. It's in the top 10, and they swap picks. That could be a Genty move for the Bears.
Yeah. Well, that's
Get him at 5.
because when I said 5, I figured it'd be a Bears trade up just with the Jags. I didn't know about the whole Browns thing, but that does seem like,
just came out like 10 minutes ago.
that does seem like a move the Bears could make there.
That would be ideal for the Bears,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Get another weapon.
Yeah, I mean, and we were talking earlier about how like you shouldn't take a running back unless it's the last thing
They
you
got
need
the line
before you
now,
win a
though.
Super Bowl. But yeah, they're in kind of a different scenario where like they're bought in on Caleb Williams and they got Rome Odunze. Like they're pretty okay in terms of offensive weaponry, and just kind of looking at the class they have, like running back is definitely that would be a good pick for them. Do we have this pick yet? He's definitely dragging it out. I know Goodell is dragging his feet trying to get up to that podium right now. The pick has been in for like almost a minute now, and it took him a really long time to get it in too.
It's official. The Browns are trading that pick.
It's official.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a second. The pick is in. The first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.
Come on.
They're still booing him.
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward.
All right.
Quarterback.
Yep.
Miami.
Cam Ward,
That's the one.
first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. It was a no-brainer. It really, I mean, this has been set in stone since day one. I want to say I don't think Sanders really had a shot early on in these draft conversations of being number one. He was always going to be behind Ward, and Ward does end up taking that number one spot. He goes to Tennessee. This is a great fit. Titans need it. They've been in this weird stance in terms of quarterbacks over the last 5-6 years. Honestly, ever since they got rid of Tannehill, it's been downhill since then. Started with Malik Willis. They gave up on him very soon. Then they immediately get Will Levis. We all know the story there. Now it's Cam Ward's time in Tennessee. Treylon Burks, Calvin Ridley.
2 of his top 4 receivers in the league.
Exactly. So maybe there's something to work with if you're Cam Ward. But there you go. First overall pick in the draft is Cam Ward.
I love this for not just for Tennessee. I love this for Cam Ward. Like, give the kid a place where he can go. Like, in college, he played for 3 different teams, and it was 3 different teams over the last 3 years of his career. He's been plugging and placing his game for basically his whole college career. Now he's going to plug and place his game from Miami straight into Tennessee. And like you said, he's already got some weapons around him there that he will be able to utilize. And Cam Ward, he seems like just such a great human being. Because I had the unique experience of getting to like be up close and personal with him at the Heisman ceremony last year, and he was just like he seemed like the most put together individual in that room out of the 4 Heisman candidates. And I think it's just I'm so happy for him to be the first overall pick. I think he deserves it 110%.
Over 4,300 yards, led the nation with 39 touchdowns.
Miami record as well.
Yeah, there you go. Unbelievable year with Miami.
So I just wanted to expand on
we have an update.
The trade that the Jaguars
Yeah.
and the Browns just made. Because it was in from Adam Schefter. The Browns are trading the number 2 overall pick, a 4th round pick, and a 6th round pick to the Jaguars. The Jaguars are trading a number 5 overall pick, a 2nd round pick, a 4th round pick, and their 2026 1st round pick to the Browns.
There you go. I think it's a good segue.
Pretty big return for
on-
the Browns.
On that, the Browns now have, according to Schefter, 3 of the top 36 picks in this draft. The 5th overall, the 1st pick of the 2nd round, number 33, and the 4th pick of the 2nd round, number 36.
I think it's a no-brainer now. No-brainer's kind of strong, but I think there's a stronger likelihood that they trade down even further now, where that Bears report becomes a little bit more legit. You just got a ton of draft capital by one maneuver and went down 3 spots, and you got a huge pick in the 2nd round for where you stand right now. You can get more picks from the Bears and still get an impact player for your team next year.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are sitting around 10. You look at who's going to be at that spot, and what I'm looking at if I'm the Browns is look at what receivers are going to be there. You really don't have anyone outside of Judy, and you're going to have plenty of options there, and then plenty of draft capital the rest of this draft and next year's draft as well to kind of go into that full rebuild that they've been kind of in the middle of. It's very interesting how that, this was the first year that they haven't had like a big first round draft pick trade going into the draft too in a while.
Yeah, actually Adam Schefter just tweeted about that. He said the only other on-the-clock blockbusters that have involved 2 teams in the top 5 picks, the last one came in 2017. The Bears traded the number 3 pick that became defensive end Solomon Thomas. 2 third-round picks, one in 2017 and one in 2018. A 4th-round pick to the 49ers for the 2nd overall pick, in which they drafted Mitch Trubisky. And then it happened in 1985. The Falcons traded the number 4 pick, and it became the Hall of Famer Chris Dolman. And in 1985, 3rd-round pick to the Vikings for the number 2 overall pick. And the pick is in for the
Hey, now.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow. All right, moving right along.
This should be interesting. I don't really know what direction the Jags are going to go in, to be honest.
This should directly determine
Where the Giants
what
go.
move the Giants make.
This could be classic Giants fashion, or we can take a deep
boy.
breath. We could take a deep breath.
This is going to be interesting.
Oh man, because
What did the Giants like? Now my mind is spinning. If the Jags take Abdul here for some reason, what do the Giants do? Do the
Trade
Giants
out.
trade out? They trade out, right?
You
They're
gotta
on the
trade
phone
out.
immediately,
You gotta
right?
trade
You
out.
got to get out of 3
not-
because
I-
it's not the
You're not
spot.
taking Travis?
no,
No,
we were just talking
I think,
about it.
Yeah, I think we kind of came to that. Like, I
don't
thought we
know
should.
if
I
Travis
thought
is
they
the
should
move.
take Travis originally, but based on like pretty much everything that like came to
Yeah.
my head while I was talking about it, they do not have room to take a risk like that on a wideout like Travis Hunter right now. Because if Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, for whatever reason, if they don't work out at quarterback, then you're stuck with Malik and Travis in this wide receiver room with nobody to throw to them. Tommy DeVito again?
Yeah, it could
Like,
end up
no,
being a
this is that we can't
catastrophe.
do
Next
it.
year. That's next year's problem. Next year's draft.
But that's the issue though with taking Travis Hunter if you're the New York Giants.
The Giants need the
Next
Jags
year's
to take
problem-
Travis so bad.
Ends up becoming a much larger issue than it should be. Because if it's next year's problem, there's a likelihood that you have a new head coach and you have a new general manager and you have a wide receiver who is going to be one of the better wide receivers in the league, hopefully, on his second head coach, possibly disgruntled. Now having 2 wide receivers, number 1 wide receivers in the room, still with no quarterback. There's honestly a lot of issues
But if
that
you're-
could end up happening.
If you're bringing in a guy like Arch Manning in that draft,
sure,
would they still be so disgruntled?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
So so they're gonna announce
fate
the
of the Giants
trade.
is on the line.
They're gonna announce the trade first and
Yes.
like explain it, and then the Jags pick.
Yep.
Imagine.
Here we go.
It's only pick 2. I already don't know what's gonna come out of his mouth.
I'm honored to take a moment to recognize a player who's made a profound impact on and off the field. The Walter Payton NFL Man of the
okay.
Year Award, presented by Nationwide, recognizes one player each year who best represents greatness and compassion both on and off the field and in the community. Tonight, we are proudly joined by the 2024 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, Eric Armstead.
There we go. Walter Payton Man of the Year over this last season. Highly
First
esteemed
off,
award.
Duval.
Letting it out.
They should have gotten the new coach to do it.
Yeah.
Duval.
I want to say thank you to the commissioner. Thank you to the Payton family and the NFL. and
Announce the
Nationwide.
pick, bro.
And also, too,
I see
tonight,
Eli
I wanna
pacing
encourage
around
each
in
player
the
embarking on the
studio
NFL
back there
journey
in Studio
to
B.
identify a passion close to their heart and act upon it. Use your platform to make your community, the league, and this world a better place. As we remember Walter Payton, strive to leave a positive legacy of your own. Thank you.
Please leave a positive legacy on the Giants with this next pick.
That'd be something. We could use a break. We could
Please,
use a break.
We have a trade.
We do have a trade, Eric.
Yes.
Absolutely, man. Let us know.
The Cleveland Browns have traded the second pick
Sure have.
to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And with the second pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Travis Hunter.
All right. All right.
receiver,
Big.
defensive back
That's big.
from Colorado.
There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. The Heisman is off the board. Travis Hunter, Jacksonville Jaguar.
Ooh, he's gonna
Duval.
have some fun living it
He
up
is.
there in Jacksonville.
Playing with Trevor Lawrence.
Woo!
That's a good pick for them. Good for them. They need a weapon like that on both sides of the ball, and they did just that. They gave up a lot for him, but you know what? They got their guy. This puts the Giants on the clock. This is what we've been waiting for.
Oh, it's time.
This is what I've been waiting for, man.
But
Oh, man.
the choice is all too clear, though.
It is
I
now.
think now.
I think it's set in stone.
the Jaguars have
the panic
cleared
button
everything.
did not have to be pressed. Did not have to be pressed. We're gonna have a little switcheroo right now.
Deep breaths.
Brendan Shorey is going to take a little bit of a backseat. He'll be right back with us, though, at some point in the show. And who's it going to be? Who's going to emerge out of the studio? It's Eli Keeler.
Oh,
Tucker, we got to clap for Eli
Eli Keeler, get in here.
It's Eli Keeler.
Hum, babe.
What up, man?
You got the Barkley
Dude, what
jersey
up,
on,
man?
but
Welcome to the show.
there's something on the back, isn't there?
I do not have the Barkley jersey on.
No, it's a different jersey now.
I have the Darkwa jersey.
Orleans Darkwa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hum, babe.
Yeah. Good stuff. Orleans Darkwa.
Shout out
What a
Lou Orlando
beast.
for the idea.
Mm.
To a
Absolutely.
Giants game a few months back.
Dude.
Rock Darkwa instead of Barkley.
Much better than the Singletary idea that I had. I just went with keeping it a Barkley jersey.
Darkwa's more fun.
Mm.
And also,
he was fun.
I honestly, this was kind of a message too. This was like I was always a big fan of Saquon while he was here, but let's really refocus as a franchise, the Giants. Make the smart pick, O-line, D-line, bolster the trenches.
I like that.
Because we can get a dark wall whenever.
Yeah.
Respect to him. We could get him
Sure,
in the third
sure.
round, build him up.
Sure.
Let's focus what we know. Best player available. Abdul Carter looks like a lock.
Here it is. Let's start the discussion right now. Let's start it back up. Abdul Carter seems like the no-brainer here.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter's off the board. Cam Ward, there was never a chance. Giants are on the clock. Abdul Carter. That's the name that I want to hear. I think that's who we all want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That's who Evan wants to hear. Jack and Shorey are not Giants fans, but I'm sure they want to hear it. 'Cause it would be pretty exciting in this room.
We've now reached the point where it's, it's funny. Before the show, we pulled up the Moneyball clip
We did.
where they start
That's
talking
awesome.
about
Pulled up the
like,
Moneyball
he
clip.
he doesn't have to answer to us. Like he only answers to himself and God.
We make suggestions.
And exactly. So
He
we're
makes
now
decisions.
talking about John Mara. So first it was someone can trade into the 2 and pick Abdul over the Giants. Now that has passed because the Jaguars picked Travis Hunter. But now we answer we answer to John Mara now. Jack, I don't know if you did you pull the clip up right now?
Yeah, do we have that loaded?
Yeah, you do.
Let's
You
play
can roll
it. Let's play it.
No. The
He
music.
pulled up the lo-fi music.
Well, that was the lo-fi music.
I
from
love
the
a
break,
little lo-fi.
but-
Sure. Looks like the pick is in, by the way.
No way.
Not
Oh
to
God,
spoil
that
it.
was
The
quick.
pick
All
is
right,
in.
maybe forget about the Mara thing then. Only thing I'm worried about is if John Mara comes over the top and forces the Giants to take a quarterback. It'll be Jackson Dart if it is, but we are all hoping for Abdul Carter in this room. Oh boy.
Yeah.
The pick is in.
John Mara.
It is in.
Even
I'm not gonna lie, my roommate is a Niners fan, and he told me the Giants are gonna pick Jackson Dart and let Abdul fall to the Niners.
Bro's tripping.
Bro is deep. He is deep in the sauce.
Here's what I'll say. Even if Mara is pressuring Shane to go QB, like Shane has to realize, like, I need to go bigger go home. This
Yeah.
could be my last pick as a GM ever. So he needs to just trust himself and cook.
Let me throw this out here real quick before we keep talking about the Giants. Travis Hunter and the Jaguars. 0 conversations with one another since the combine.
Wow.
That was big.
That's insane. I would love to know how this happened.
It must have been their guy. They went and got their guy. I think that was the whole motive there.
Wow.
They give up a lot.
Wow. Zero
They were into him.
He's a great fit there.
He is.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
I was just
He is
talking
a
to
great
Jack
fit
in the
there.
back. He's gonna look great in the jersey. Reminds
Yeah.
me of like a Jalen Ramsey on the Jags, who just looked dope in that jersey. Was a baller.
I think
colors.
he'll look good in their throwbacks too. Because
Yeah.
they started to wear those throwback jerseys a
Yeah,
lot more
yeah.
often.
Cool.
It's gonna be nice.
He's exactly what they need to.
Well, back to the Giants.
Oh my God.
Okay, they could trade down.
They could?
I wouldn't want to.
They could
not.
trade. They
well,
could
the pick's
trade
in.
down.
The pick's in.
The pick is in,
Yeah.
and no trade has come about.
At least it hasn't been reported, unless we get a surprise trade at the podium. But
It-
that would be ridiculous at this point.
Loki could be Jackson Dart. Oh, I'm so scared.
No. if John Mara
wants.
called Joe Shane at the last minute while they were on the clock and
You
said
think-
you better pick a quarterback right now, you're fired.
Well,
Like-
but here's the thing. That I get that. Obviously, there's always pressure from your owner, but Joe Shane, like, it reminds me of Draft Day. You guys
Mhm.
watch the movie
We were
Draft
just talking
Day?
Yep,
about that.
we were-
This
we've been
draft
talking about
is
this all
that
day.
movie.
Corny movie, but just so much fun to watch. But that whole movie, the owner's pressing on. I forget the name of the GM.
Sonny
Weaver Jr.
Yeah.
Pressing on Sonny like, you go get Bo Callahan. He's the no-brainer.
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner says, you know what? I'm gonna just lay it all down. If I get fired, I get fired.
Pick. Here we go.
Oh boy. Excuse me.
Here we go.
In the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Abdul Carter, defensive end, Penn State.
Sigh of relief.
Thank God.
All right.
Bang.
The newest member of Big Blue. Let's give it up for Abdul Carter. Come on.
Abdul Carter, come on down.
Abdul Carter. Happy Valley, Big Apple.
Straight out of
Come
Happy
on
Valley,
home.
baby.
Come on home. Come on. That was the guy. They got the guy. The defensive line looking great. That was the pick all along. Thank
was.
God. Abdul Carter's wearing big blue this year.
From day one, that should have been the pick, and I'm just glad we sucked.
I can't wait to see the parallels. The graphics are going to go crazy when they bring up Micah Parsons against Abdul Carter, and they're wearing the same number, and it's like both of their like massive animated figures on Fox with like all the stats and whatever, and like the comparisons are going to be like 1-to-1. Show clip of one guy, clip of the other guy, and they're the Giants can now compete. Yeah, here it is. Here's the Mara clip that never came to fruition.
And God.
Such a good movie.
And there we go.
Joe Shane answered to himself today. We got the good ending of draft day, and Abdul Carter is a New York Giant.
He
It's
gets,
a great
he gets
day.
on base.
He gets on base.
That's what he does. He gets
I don't-
on
do
base.
You can
care if it's a
recreate
walk
Micah Parsons in
or
the
an error?
aggregate.
I don't care.
Do I care, Pete? No,
You do not.
you do not.
I do not. And I don't care now.
No.
This defense looks really solid. I'm so pumped for this defense. I hope that they live up to it. This has a very, very strong chance to be a fun, exciting, but also top half, probably higher defense in the National Football League next year. And I'm not just saying that. Their secondary was weak going into last year. They pick up Tyler Nubin. They get Drew Phillips. They had a great draft defensively all the way around. They got two big guys to get in that secondary in the draft last year. Fast forward. You get Paulson Adebo. You get Javon Holland, along with the two guys I just mentioned. Now you pair Abdul Carter with Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Bobby Okereke, and other names.
Brian Burns.
Brian Burns.
That's dirty.
This is what I'm saying.
Dude, would you rather run the ball up the middle and get consumed by Dexter Lawrence, big sexy, or would you rather go outside and get mauled by Abdul Carter and or Kayvon Thibodeau?
The choice is yours.
The choice is yours, and it's not a good one either way.
They lose Azeez Ojulari to the Eagles. Fine. 1-year deal. He'll probably do well with the
He's gonna
Eagles.
play.
Good for
He's
him.
gonna play well for them.
But you know what? He played well for the Giants last year. And this was a much needed reinforcement for the Giants. This is, I think, what everyone wanted here. And let's do a little rotation.
Yeah,
Let's
get Jack in here
let's get a
because the
little
Pats
rotation.
pick is
Pats
actually
pick
in.
is
The pick is in.
So
for
get him in the
Pats.
chair.
Yes. Let's get the Pats fan in here.
Let's go.
The consensus for the Pats has been tackle Will Campbell out of LSU. I think that's still going to be the case here. Jack Warner, welcome back.
Thank you. I feel very welcome.
That's the pick, though.
That
Let's
is-
hop right into it.
I mean, I think that's the only rational pick when you really look at what the Patriots were lacking. It's obvious that there's a lot of excitement around Drake May and that he showed a lot of flashes in the pan this past season. It's clear that he was able to do a lot with quite a little. It's clear that that's your future guy that you're going to invest in. And the other thing I thought was most impressive is the Patriots do not have what I would consider a star-studded receiver room. They got Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, they got Javon Baker, they got Jalen Polk. None of those are guys that scream at you like this is your franchise wide receiver. Now, they did in the offseason make some noise, bring in Stephon Diggs,
Sure.
a move that I think will age well. I am a fan of the move. That is a valuable target to bring in with Drake May. The problem was Drake May was able to make a lot with what he had. What he had was not much because, as I mentioned kind of comedically about Aaron Rodgers when we were previewing the Jets, he spent a lot of that season on his backside. He had no protection. He was getting roughed up left and right. It's clear that they need somebody. They need to keep upholstering that offensive line, and I don't think that there's a better option than Will Campbell. He's one of the most technically sound tackles in the draft. He's clearly the best, most talented offensive tackle that is available in the draft, and I think there's really no other direction that you need to take. I don't think that they need to address anything in the backfield right now because Ramondre Stevenson is a reliable enough option for now going forward. And yeah, I just think the biggest glaring hole, and there were many, but the biggest one was just no protection for anybody.
I think Drake May proved enough last year that you don't need to desperately go after the wide receiver right now.
Right.
You did a very solid job of bringing in an experienced veteran in Stephon Diggs. I agree with you, Jack. I think that will age well for the Pats. You will find your number one guy because it's not going to be Diggs. It may be for next year, but that's obviously not the goal. Those days are behind him. Drake May proved enough that they don't need to desperately go get somebody. What the Patriots proved is that Drake May will end up on his rear end if they don't get an offensive guard or tackle or someone to solidify this line. And when that happens more frequently, who cares about a wide receiver? You don't have someone to throw him the ball.
And those guys who didn't necessarily play phenomenal last year at receiver, they're still talented.
For sure.
You know, you still got to give them a chance behind a genuine offensive line. Seems like a no-brainer to go at line. Maybe Mason Graham's a surprise, just sheer talent.
Right.
But O-line seems like the move.
And I mean, you look at Will Campbell, too. He was on what was already a very, very talented LSU offensive line. He was right next to Garrett Dellinger, a kid I actually went to school with,
Wild.
who they were both like stars on that LSU team. Dellinger will be someone who probably eventually gets drafted at some point. But, you know, this is a guy who allowed 2 sacks in the past 2 seasons. That is an unreal stat line. He's been, you know, obviously going toe-to-toe with the best of the best in terms of defensive lines, the SEC. It doesn't get a lot scarier than that. And I just think the Patriots, their work is cut out for them. They need a guy that's going to protect Drake May, because it's clear that Drake May was able to show quite a bit in this past season with poor protection, and as with what we just mentioned, not the most star-studded receiver room to work with either. So I think if the focus is putting somebody in front of Drake May that can protect him and can perhaps rally the troops around him to also help the entire O-line in protecting him, along with Mike Vrabel, who I feel like is definitely a coach that resonates with linemen, I don't see a more clear-cut choice.
Well, another conversation we were having, too, is that Genty was never really an option here.
No.
Because they are not in a spot right now to take on a star power running back like that.
Yeah.
If you can't solidify the one thing that a running back desperately needs, why go and get the running back?
We talked about it before the show. It was Mina Kimes who was talking about
Yeah.
it. It was earlier today or yesterday. She was talking about the Giants drafting Saquon, which I know is a sore subject.
I was going to say it's the
But
same situation.
It's very similar. Yeah.
She put it perfectly when she said, if you're more than a running back away from a Super Bowl, don't draft a running back, because you're not going to bring a running back into either a dumpster fire of an O-line or a bad quarterback, and the running back has to carry all the weight. There's other holes that need to be filled. Running backs are incredibly valuable. You just saw Saquon Barkley run for 2,000 yards with the Eagles. Like, that clearly made a difference. And he made a difference when he was on the Giants too. But it's clear you had the same level of talent, Saquon Barkley, as a Giant as he was an Eagle, and guess what? There's squat to show for it. Because was it probably there we go.
NFL Draft.
Here we go.
Please don't let me
The
down.
New England Patriots select Will Campbell.
All right.
Tackle.
There you go.
LSU.
Will Campbell off the board.
Big
LSU
time.
Tiger.
Love it.
He goes up north to Boston.
He's shipping up to Boston.
He's shipping up to Boston.
That's big. How do you feel, Jack?
I'm a big fan of that move. Again, it's a humbling position to be in when you're just like, I don't want the star-studded, like, super cool draft pick like Travis Hunter or one of those guys. Like, it's definitely a humbling position to be in when it's like, let's just address the basic needs. But you got just about the best talent in the entire draft class, at least on paper right now, heading into the draft, to address the biggest need that they have, which is a sufficient O-line. So I cannot complain with that draft pick whatsoever. I'm very, very, very happy.
That's what they needed. They went out and got it. Let's signal in Evan. Evan, why don't you come in here? You can replace me. I'll keep talking while
musical chairs
while you make your way in here. We gotta keep it fair. We gotta keep it fair. We want to get more people in here as possible, and Evan can take you through the Browns pick here. Pick number 5. Here we go, Ev.
Just traded down. A lot of options for him. They traded down into the spot, so they're confident they could still get their guy.
Yeah.
Who do you think it's going to be?
For the Browns, I think they're going Sanders. Wow. I think they have to. Because what I was thinking off the air was, who did the Browns think that they want that bad that they made sure they still have the 5th pick in the draft, but that they knew no one was going to take until that 5th pick? And then it clicked in my mind, oh, your quarterbacks are Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, and Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Why don't you get Shador Sanders and maybe try out a young gun that could be good? So, I mean, I think it's for sure Shedeur Sanders. What do you think, Jack?
I'm confident.
I'm also liking the Shedeur Sanders pick just because where they are right now, I don't think that there's a big risk in taking a chance on a Shedeur Sanders. This isn't they're a quarterback away or this is a make or break pick for them. Like they're a very much like run of the mill, middle of the pack, towards bottom of the pack team where kind of like what we were talking about with the Jets in the opening segment where there's actually a multitude of directions they could take things, and I don't think any of them would be considered a bad pick. I think with all the uncertainty at the quarterback position with them right now, I don't see it being necessarily a bad move to take Shedeur.
What about the whole, like, jibber jabber, if you will, like leading up to the draft where Shedeur is only
Dropping.
Well, he's dropping, but he's also only really passionate about playing for certain teams. At least according to
the
Braun.
Browns were one of them, right?
Browns. I was gonna say I wasn't sure if they were.
I
Were
think they were because
Okay.
he was saying like the historic, legendary franchises of the NFL, and I'm almost positive it was Giants Browns, where he was like those two I'm cool with.
Oh, okay, word. Because I remember like the Raiders seemed like one he could go to, but also this is kind of just like off rip, but it doesn't seem. It always seemed like there was more focus on like the Giants or other teams rather than Shedeur to the Browns.
They also need to address their O-line, though. Like I could see Mason Graham being a good pick for them because he's obviously somebody that's still available and is one of the top tier, I'm sorry, not O-line, defensive line. He's obviously one of the most top tier defensive tackles in the draft. It's obviously something that wouldn't hurt to go that direction either. They're a weird one.
It's weird right here.
It could go a lot of ways.
The pick is actually in right now. We're just waiting for Roger Goodell to come up and explain it. We know he takes a little bit of time after the pick gets in to actually say it, but we're gonna get that going.
Whatever it is, just know they passed on Travis Hunter for this pick. So keep that in mind.
Well, and it was also like the Jaguars were passionate about the two. Like it could have been an option where they're like, all right, we like Travis, but they're giving us
a first
enough
next year,
where we can let him slide for this guy, because they could go Walker too, good linebacker. I don't know if I don't think their linebacker room is particularly strong. Defense always helps. They could literally go like any direction.
It is. I feel like it was a plan though, and it has to be. I feel like it has to be Shedeur.
I feel like the Jaguars called him like today, and we're like, we're just gonna
because no one
everything.
spoke to Travis from the Jags. That was.
I don't know if they're gonna take Shedeur, man. I feel like it's just too early.
You would think so, right? But
because they weren't passionate about him at 2.
Yeah, at all.
You know, and obviously Travis and Abdul Carter, at least my opinion, are on like another tier
for sure.
But it didn't really feel like the Browns were interested at all at Shedeur at 2. At 5, like I don't know. I'm not as confident that Shedeur is gonna go, but you do make a good point.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who else. Mason Graham was a really good point. You know, if you don't want the quarterback, get a really good player at an important position, like D tackle. Mason Graham makes a lot of sense. I mean, maybe like Membu,
could be
a lineman.
They have a lot of needs.
Yeah, that's the
because imagine having Mason Graham on your defensive line now.
Miles Garrett.
And Miles Garrett also staring
makes
at you.
a lot of sense.
And the pick is actually in. We're going to hear from Roger Goodell.
The selection.
Hear the boos.
So you know he's
With
coming.
the 5th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Mason Graham.
Wow, there it is.
Defensive tackle, Michigan.
I like that a lot for them.
Mason
that pick.
Graham picked 5th overall from the Browns in that swap. Like you said, Jack, you got to remember, they passed up on Travis Hunter for this. They had the number 2 spot right there locked up. They could have got Abdul Carter. They could have got Travis Hunter. They decided to trade back, get a first next year, and go get Mason Graham, elite D tackle out of Michigan, easily the second best defensive lineman in this draft, right behind Abdul Carter. What do you guys think of the pick?
This is so far like Browns have had. It's only been 5 picks, but like this is ideal draft. Honestly, I think for the Browns, people were talking about Giants potentially going Mason Graham over Abdul Carter. A lot of people put Mason Graham right up there with Abdul Carter. You trade down 3 picks, get a first next year, and you get a guy as talented as anyone who's gone in the first 4 picks.
Yeah.
They're gonna every Instagram is gonna be like A+ draft Browns because of this. This is a great move.
And the AFC North is also just trench football, man. Like it's always like physical, hard-nosed, like scrappy. And not that the rest of the NFL isn't, but something about the AFC North to have that guy in the trenches for you and you got him at the 5th pick. You traded down to get him when he is looked at as and losing to Abdul Carter in this race is not a bad person to lose to. The, without a doubt, second best defensive talent in this draft class heading in. I'm impressed with the move. Because again, what we said before the draft, what I said before going into this pick, all right, you passed on Travis Hunter. Like, this better make sense. And right now, I think it makes perfect sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think the Browns plan here, like we were saying, we don't know who they're kind of going to pick. Jack, you said Mason Graham, because they have so many problems. Maybe their mindset was, okay, let's take those picks that were being offered, and then we can fill all those problems. You know, maybe they thought Travis Hunter, we'll get him, he'll be really great. That's one guy. Let's say we get next year's first-round pick. We still get Mason Graham. We get to move up in the second. You know, that's making your whole team better instead of adding that Travis Hunter. So huge there from the Browns. Wow, I really thought it was going to be Shador. They end up getting Mason Graham in that spot. And to your point, Jack, in the AFC North as well, it's such a difference when you have that guy, a guy with Mason Graham mentality. You saw it from Aaron Donald in his heyday. You know, you really don't see it from some of the guys like Quinn Williams and Dexter Lawrence. They're not really that fierce. They don't have that tenacity, but we saw that out of Mason Graham.
For sure.
If teams can't run the ball up the middle against you, that's already the first problem.
Well, and this Michigan team was a prime example. I mean, you look at the end of the season, them being able to shock Ohio State and then kind of shock Alabama in the bowl game, in bowl season. This team was an offensive nightmare this year. They were awful. It was one of the worst offenses, especially coming off of J.J. McCarthy and his stint, and them being a team that you could almost guarantee they put up 35 to 40 any given weekend. And then you go to this year where they couldn't find a solid quarterback. Yeah. They couldn't, figure things out offensively. Michigan won games, remained a sub 500, over 500 team because of their defense. Yeah. And Mason was a big part of that.
Biggest, yeah.
That feels like kind of what the Browns have to do now. Like, you're super uncertain at the quarterback position, especially. You have to I think this is a great pick. You invest in your defense. Defense is often, as they say, defense wins championships. This is where it all starts.
Nico Harrison.
Yeah. Well, that aged poorly.
Brendan Shorey, Mavs fan. Not a fan of that one.
Hey, it's not a basketball show, so I don't
know. But hey.
Yeah. But yeah, like
a good one-liner never hurts anyone.
No, it doesn't. I was going to get into it, but I'm refraining. That's what I was saying. But it never, ever, ever hurts to get your defensive line up and then work from there. And I think especially, I don't know if this is coincidence or whatever. This is a very, strong defensive, offensive line draft. But there's a lot of, last year or two, there's a lot of talk around what is, the running back position look like? Yeah. How much do we pay them? Are they really that important? This is obviously a conversation people have been having. And it seems like in a lot of spots where in other years Giants would have reached on, if you go back to the Saquon draft, could have Quentin Nelson
the pick in for the Raiders, but I love you were talking about running backs because Ashton Genty might be one of those backs. Let's listen to Roger Goodell.
With the 6th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Ashton Genty.
There he goes.
There he is.
That's a good pick.
What does he say?
So what I was just about to say is I didn't think they were going to go running back because a lot of teams have been electing for that, line trench guy instead of running back. Maybe a lot of teams are thinking running back later. Raiders elect not to go that way.
Well, I also was big on the Jets taking Armand Membu. I thought if they were going to lose out on him to one team, it would be the Raiders because the right tackle position is an area where they need a lot of reinforcement. But at the same time, you're looking at one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL who just picked up Ashton Genty, an electrifying talent who was a workhorse. You can say what you want about whether it was a Mountain West team. I know there's always narratives and whatever. That's one of the most talented running backs I've ever seen. A freak athlete. I do understand the Saquon comparisons when he would get them at times. Those very, very strong in the legs and is a not only a speed guy but a power guy as well. Can work through tackles. Can take hits. I think you just beefed up what coming out of last season was the worst rush attack in the NFL with an exciting talent at running back. I like the pick. Again, they were another one of those teams where they could have went a handful of directions. There's a lot of these teams in this early section of the draft, but no, I can't. No one should be upset about that pick.
Yeah, and Eli, to your point about running backs and how much they matter with the O-line taken into effect as well, we saw a big difference between the Josh Jacobs Raiders and then the Raiders after Josh Jacobs. And it was pretty much the same offensive line, just a totally different running back, not somebody that's an absolute beast, a wrecking ball of a running back there. So they clearly do matter, even though you have the same all-line. We saw Josh Jacobs elevate the Raiders so much. Now they get an Ashton Genty. My question is, was Ashton Genty good enough to be this high of a running back? We don't usually see running backs this high. I mean, Brendan Shorey certainly thinks so from behind the glass. I think so. I think the reason maybe not is we saw Genty go so much from the single back, from the under center, and that never happens in the NFL. Everything is out of the shotgun, so it's a lot different for running backs. You're not getting 5 yards of a head start. You don't see the holes differently. We all saw Ashton Genty doing the Michael Myers stance in the back where he wouldn't get down so he could see everybody. It's just different out of that, but at the same time, when every defense you played is stacking 8 men in the box, knowing all they have to do to win this game is shut down Ashton Genty, and he goes out there and puts up 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, it makes me think it doesn't matter.
Well, and the other thing is, I think there's the Raiders didn't really have a long-term solution at that position. Like, I think there was a big vacancy. It was only about a month and a half ago they pick up Raheem Mostert off as a free agent, a 1-year deal. That's not a long-term option. That's more of a project, if anything. For sure. So I think that just gave them a lot of stability. I also think if Raheem Mostert pans out, then you have a very nice two-headed monster in him and Ashton Genty, both in your backfield, switching, trading reps, whatever the game scenario calls for. But yeah, I like the pick. I personally like the pick, but I do think the O-line is still an issue, which I am curious to see how that pans out, and obviously it'll take into effect, or how they view that will take into effect in the later rounds of the draft. But at the same time, I guess maybe, I don't know if I'm cutting them too much slack, but I guess if there was a running back for you to take, knowing that you have a weak offensive line, you would rather it be that sort of strength guy that can break tackles and is known to be able to take on contact and get yards after contact, like Genty has shown that he can do. So I mean, it now leaves me very curious to see where they go in the later rounds addressing their O-line, because it's clear that still needs to be addressed.
And your point about Mostert, it's a good point. Is like, if we look back to the Giants Saquon situation, you bring Saquon in, all of a sudden, just a workhorse. And obviously that can catch up to you, and that's one of the dangers of drafting a running back so early, is running backs can get injured. They take on a lot of hits. Obviously, there's a higher chance for running backs to get injured oftentimes. We saw with Saquon, he did deal with some injuries. This is great that they have Raheem Mostert, because you could really start Genty in and like sort of like 50-50 split. Maybe Genty gets a little more carries, and then you can ease him into an NFL style where he's getting hit more than he did in college. And, ideally, hopefully he's just totally fine and they brush him right in there, and then he's a beast. But Raheem adds a lot to that, where you can be careful about such a high-value running back. So it's a big pick on a guy who there's a lot of pressure early on for running backs often. I'm kind of traumatized by the Giants with Saquon, so I think I'm biased, but I don't think a running back this early, like Saquon and Genty, are generational talents. Genty appears to be one. I don't think a running back this early ever helps you as much as, obviously this is circumstantial, but I think it's always safer to go O-line, D-line generational talent than running back talent.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant on this pick. I do hope it works for them and it works out well, but it's risky. It's always risky going running back.
Like I said, I think it's going to. I think my complete feelings on this pick, I am fond of this pick, but I think my complete feelings on this pick is going to be a bit dependent on the direction they take the remainder of this draft.
Yeah.
Super fair.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll see what pans out with Genty and the Raiders. Odd little tidbit that I just got. Kayvon Thibodeau's 5th-year option was just picked up by the Giants. So I guess a statement from Mara and the Giants, hey, this is still our guy, don't worry, because there was a lot of chatter. They have Kayvon Thibodeau. He was a first-round pick a couple seasons ago at the same position of Abdul Carter. So interesting to see the Giants go ahead and do that. Next on the clots, we got the Jets. Jets.
Like
We had a little
talk,
too. And the pick is in right now. Goodell not ready to give it just yet. But we still have the two guys right there. It's Membu and it's Warren.
It's going to be Membu. I really think it's going to be Membu. They need that. They need that presence on their O-line. I really do think
I was thinking
you can
Warren.
Find. I hear but that's the thing is I hear Warren.
Yeah.
the thing is, I just feel like the talent distribution of tight ends, obviously, I think it spans a lot further throughout the draft than other
It's not
positions.
like a Brock Bowers.
No,
situation.
exactly. I think you have kind of like how we just said that Mason Graham is for sure the very next best thing after
Yes.
Abdul
Yeah,
Carter.
yeah.
I think Membu is the very next best thing after Will Campbell.
ESPN had Membu ranked first in
Wow.
terms of O-line. It's kind of crazy. Obviously, ESPN, whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just saying, he is like right up with Will Campbell.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I was going Tyler Warren, but I think when Brendan Shorey kind of made the point, the same point you're making, Jack, that there are so many good tight ends in this draft.
Right.
Not that Tyler Warren isn't clearly the best. He obviously
is for sure.
But I think there's a bigger drop-off between Membu and the rest of the O-linemen than there is with the tight ends right there. And I think that the Jets right now are really trying to beef up that O-line. They're trying to go, it seems to me, the run-the-ball route. You go get Justin Fields, an RPO quarterback. The weirdest part to me that really made me think this is signing Alan Lazard and like making him take a pay cut, because Alan Lazard is like the randomest receiver ever, except he's really good at blocking.
Right.
That's the thing. He's really big and he's really good at blocking.
They like
We
that.
actually have the pick right now from the Jets. Here's Roger Goodell.
The commissioner to make the announcement.
With the 7th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Armand
There it is.
Membu,
There he is.
Missouri. Tackle.
It's a good pick.
My graphic went
Good
2 for
pick.
2.
Armand Membu, the New York Jets' newest tackle. They got him at the 7th pick in the draft. What do we think, fellas? I think we already know. It's
It's
pretty
a
good pick.
no-brainer.
Pretty
That's
good
a
pick.
no-brainer. That's easy. That's one of they built up, weapons. They have
Yeah.
finally got a quarterback you could put some faith in. And no-brainer. Give him a little offensive line, a little protection, especially Fields, who doesn't historically have a great offensive line in front of him. Who knows? Fields shown a lot of talent. Maybe all he really needs is an O-line, and he could pop off.
The other thing that really impressed me about Membu in the film that I've seen on him is how mobile he is, and how able he is to move. He's a very quick lineman, which is another thing that he was getting a lot of credit for, obviously, heading into the draft, like why he would be a valuable pick. I think when you're going to have somebody, a quarterback with a lot of mobility like Justin Fields, who may have to, parade around the backfield a little bit, may have to move right, move left, run around, try to get away from something or wherever direction he's going, I think having such a mobile, athletic lineman like Membu in front of him is going to be incredibly valuable.
That's gonna be awesome for the run game.
Yeah.
Like he can start at tackle and move wherever you need him to.
Exactly.
After snap.
They're a real drag and
just
drop
Get a lot of
player.
momentum. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think how agile he is speaks to my point maybe also about the RPOs. Like we saw
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
Eagles, they want Mekhi Becton to play
Right,
guard. They
right.
want, rugby guys like Jordan Mailata. It's because they're so agile and athletic. They can go out there and block wherever you need them to. So I think the Jets going to be running the ball a lot this season. The Panthers pick is actually in. We just don't have Roger Goodell just yet. Who do we think the Panthers want at this spot? There's a lot of good players left. You get to this mid-first round of the draft, and I think you see a lot of players that were really good in college. And when you see them get drafted, not top 10 maybe, just at the edge of the top 10, 8th, something like this pick, you think, wow, that guy could have been higher. He was a beast at so-and-so school. A guy that I think of maybe Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. I mean, you can't really go wrong there. I feel like a lot of guys, a lot of teams need more corners nowadays. Everybody running the ball or throwing the ball rather. What do you guys think?
That's a great point. I think he's one of those guys who
Yeah.
could have been like a top 5 pick in
Right,
a different
yeah.
draft. I think Talent Walker,
Ooh, yeah.
totally could have been top 5 in a draft for sure. He's a great talent. I think you get the 8th pick with a guy who could have been top 3 or 5 any other year. Like, just get the best guy, move on. That's easy.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them going the safety route. I could see them like the secondary route. I could see because they got cooked the entire season.
Yeah.
I could also see them going the wide receiver route because, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with giving Bryce Young another target. They're a weird one, man. I didn't put any thought into the Panthers.
They just need so
Another
much.
need everything.
They-
Yeah, another team that needs everything.
But that means, to me, in that mind, if you need everything, you just get the best guy available.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right?
That addresses any of those needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, DB I think is definitely a spot they might go here. Could be
Definitely.
Malachi Starks as well, one of the best safeties in the draft. It's an interesting spot though. One that like maybe they trade out. Like who knows what the Panthers are going to do here
Could be.
at this spot. I guess we'll know pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I like Walker a lot.
Yeah.
I think because even when your secondary stinks as bad as it does, this is another reason I'm so happy the Giants went Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Is your D-line always makes secondary better.
Yeah.
So if you're always like kind of on the edge between them, like really good secondary player, really good D-line, linebacker, edge rusher type beat, I lean a little bit towards D-line because more often does an edge rusher help your secondary than vice versa, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to see them go Will Johnson. I'm very biased because I watch a lot of Michigan football, obviously, but one of the things that impressed me a lot is his physicality at that position, along with the fact that he is very reliable in both man and zone. Like, that's a very nice, like, well-rounded secondary piece that you can have back there that you can trust in almost any defensive scheme. And again, you don't really need the greatest upgrade in secondary to make that secondary better. So again, they're weird. The Panthers are
It's
weird.
a weird spot.
I'm surprised they're the 8th pick. Like, that's
Yeah. Like, they should have
that
been
makes
higher.
no sense.
Why
That
are
makes
they
no
the
sense to me.
Looking at their roster,
They need more
I'm
help.
so confused.
That's like, I always hear Giants fans talk about how they have it bad, and they do have it bad. But it's like it's because they're one of those like we have talented players, but we always finish bad enough to get a draft pick that doesn't end up fulfilling our needs. But that's another one. The Giants have way more talent, in my opinion, than the Panthers do, and the Panthers are picking 8th.
That's the thing. Is like that's such a Giants problem. Like we're always just barely good enough to stay outside the top 5, except for this year, obviously.
They'll
but, like,
randomly win a game, like the Colts game.
It's always
this
the
year.
last 2 games.
Well, that always used to be the case with also like the mid 2010s, late 2010s Commanders. Like they used to be the Giants of the NFC, where like they had such talented players on both sides of the ball, but not enough to like bring it all together. And you would see just this like letdown of a season where it's like, but we won enough games to where we're picking like 7th or 8th or 9th.
It's so painful too because it's like you see like a Drew Lock or like a Tommy DeVito have one good game, and you're like, maybe he just needed a different team.
Yep.
They always just hook you in, and they have you thinking crazy things like Drew Lock could start. Like
Tommy
no.
DeVito, that was a genuine
They had
thought
me
from
convinced.
Giants
They
fans.
had me
He might have won 3 games.
I
think he won 3 games.
I was convinced like 2 years ago that Tyrod Taylor was our starting
That's what
quarterback.
I was big on the Tyrod Taylor train for the Giants.
I was in our living room just like, get rid of Daniel Jones. Let's ride
This
with
is all we
Tyrod.
need.
I was so serious about that too.
I vividly remember watching that game with you. Was it the one against Buffalo where he like fumbled or something? He had some.
It was the they were at halftime. They're going into halftime.
Yes.
There's like 15 seconds, no timeouts, and he audibles to a handoff on like the 5, and they just runs out the time.
That's what it was. It wasn't a fumble.
Chewed out by
I
Dable.
do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like-
Dable's,
I remember watching that with you.
Yeah, because it's such a rookie move.
And we actually have the
Been
pick
here
right now
forever.
from the Panthers. Let's see who they pick.
And here's the commissioner.
With the 8th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Teteroa McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona.
Wow, Teteroa McMillan, the first receiver besides Travis Hunter, who was listed as an athlete technically, coming into this draft off the board. A very big receiver out of Arizona, one of those go up and get the ball if it's in the air. It's his type of guys. I don't know the exact measurements, but I think he's high, above 6'3",
6'4", 220.
6'4", 220. There it is on the outside.
That's a jump ball guy. That's a
dangerous.
Megatron build.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, as a hot take, maybe it's not a hot take, that's going to be the mistake of the draft.
That's a risky pick. McMillan at 8?
You just have better defensive guys who will make your team immediately better available. And you went for another weapon. Of course you need weapons. I didn't think that was the way to go. That reminds me of like Giants drafting a Kadarius Toney.
Yes.
As a weapon when
Yes.
You need everything else. That's like
What?
absurd. But there always has to be a team that makes a mistake.
Yeah.
And this is the Panthers.
Maybe
this
they
year.
know something we don't.
Yeah,
about
maybe they
McMillan.
do know.
I
something
could
we don't.
look
I-
really stupid.
I'm
could
with
look
you.
really-
I think it's a bad pick.
Yeah.
Tucker Austin just told me it's a terrible pick from behind the glass
Yeah.
as well.
Glad we
So
agreed.
we're
Just
not
think
alone.
about what a turnstile they are defensively.
That just makes
I
no
mean,
sense. That makes no
I
sense
did.
to me.
There's no way. I was not anticipating they go
No.
offense at all. Like O line, tight end, wide receiver, anything. Like I thought it was going to be a strictly defensive pick.
Yeah.
And McMillan is one of those receivers that had a bunch of question marks. Like is he going to be able to be as good in the NFL? Because similar to Quentin Johnston when he played for TCU, they relied relied on that size and the jump balls that they were able to do against the worst, smaller corners in college, got against bigger, better corners in the NFL, and Quentin Johnston, we saw, wasn't able to do the same things at all. We see it a lot with these big receivers where they're not the same player in the NFL because the size doesn't matter as much anymore. They're playing better talent.
Speed is really
kills.
more of a factor.
Yeah.
And, okay, you're thinking, oh, maybe he's a red zone threat. You have to get to the red
Yes.
zone.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get there via turnover.
No, you're not.
And you're not like you're going to run the ball. Although, Chuba had a good year. I'll give that to Chuba Hoover. He had a good year. But, like, that pick makes no sense.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I'm getting about a 50-50 split here on Twitter.
Yeah, it's Panthers Twitter.
No, okay, I just refreshed. Maybe not 50-50. Maybe like 60, maybe like 65-35. Not loving the pick.
Wow.
No, that's going to go down as a mistake. Saints on the clock. Pick is in quickly.
Wow.
Maybe it's a no-brainer.
Is it a Shador?
And maybe it's just Shador.
This is Shador territory right now.
This
He was
really
one of
is.
the easily one of the teams where it was. I think it was actually Giants, Shador, Sanders, or it was Giants, Saints were the two teams that were like being bet for.
Yeah.
Like DraftKings had Shador going to the Saints at -150 this morning and going to the Giants at plus money. So
wild.
Definitely
The other
could be
thing
a
I will
spot.
say, I saw something earlier today that Jackson Dart went to like plus 250 to go 9th
Dude,
overall.
teams, I would be so upset if Jackson Dart goes this early because I know Dable loves Jackson Dart. I would love for the Giants to make some like trade up to the 2025 area and go Jack. Like honestly, see, you're gonna have to go early because here's what I'll say about Shador too. If Saints don't pick him, there are teams like the Cowboys, Dolphins, Colts. I'm looking at them primarily who have quarterbacks.
Yeah, Colts.
Colts especially is Tua is even like Dak could be on his way out if he doesn't really get it together. Where if Shador falls that far, it's like, well, he's really good. Then he fell to us. Like maybe let's just take a risk. I hope that doesn't happen with Jackson Dart. I hope it happens with Shador. But if I'm the Saints, I like Jackson Dart more than Shador. So if you want to go to quarterback, I'd personally go Jackson Dart. But still a lot of good defensive players available. Maybe they just take a safe route. Go with Jalen Walker or Will Johnson.
Yeah, still those good players that you can go get besides a quarterback.
There's
Absolutely.
also good O-line available still too.
And they're another team, not as much as the Panthers, but they need a lot.
Yeah.
They need just about everything.
We actually have FUV legend Brian Raybacks on the horn right now.
No way.
Have to get him involved. Brian.
He's a happy guy right now.
Brian, what's going on?
Fellas, how are we doing?
Better now that you're here.
Yeah, way better now that you're here.
First of all, NFL Draft live show, what a concept. Great concept, great idea, great stuff. Secondly, Giants, Abdul Carter, win. This is the way to go. Listen, I know Travis Hunter can play both sides of the ball, but if you line Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter up, I'm taking Abdul Carter every step of the way.
As you should.
I love that, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Hunter, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of his ability to play both sides of the ball long term, and I think Abdul Carter is a game wrecker a la Micah Parsons. So,
love it.
Good comp.
Absolute win. Joe Shane, great job, man. Hope you keep your job for a little bit longer, but loving the pick.
Absolutely.
Okay, Brian.
Brian, any thoughts on any other picks so far? Maybe who the Saints are going to pick? Might they get Shador Sanders?
So, I was thinking of calling in after the Saints pick because I wanted to see if they took Shador, but I was like, you know what?
Well, we actually have the pick right now, Brian.
Stay with us. Stay with us.
Listen for it right here from Goodell.
With the 9th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle, Texas.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
like
Brendan
it.
Shorey,
Not
big Texas
Shador.
guy, throwing up the Longhorns back there. What do you think of that, Brian?
Listen, that's the way to go for them. I mean, they have a lot of holes on their team. I was going to be interested to see if they were going to take a quarterback, but Derek Carr's got the injury, but they went in a different direction. Shador, though, interested to see if any teams are going to take him. Glad the Giants passed. And yeah, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting rest of the night, but I'm fired up after the Giants pick. Really happy about it. Boys, enjoy the rest of the show.
It's great to hear from you, Brian.
Well,
And there he goes.
There he
There he
goes.
goes. The little Irish goodbye there. You love to hear it.
Whoa.
There he is.
Is he back?
There he is. Great call in there from Brian Raybacks. Shador Sanders still on the board.
Right.
That makes me so happy because that just adds
Right.
another quarterback in the
Yeah,
later
to the
picks
mix.
who
Mhm.
might not be Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
That makes me ecstatic. If the Giants leave with Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart,
Yeah.
you know,
Kelvin Banks Jr., though, a really
Yes.
solid
Yeah, yeah.
offensive
That's a good
line
pick for them.
choice.
Yeah.
I could see him probably slotting in as more of a guard once he gets to the
Ooh.
NFL. However, I mean, we'll obviously have to get there first, but very, very key piece of Texas's O-line. Really good run blocking lineman, which would be pretty useful to the Saints specifically. I'm a fan of that pick. I'm a fan. The only pick I haven't really liked so far is the Titans. I've really been a fan of every other pick.
Titans. You didn't like the Titans pick?
Not the Titans.
Panthers.
Sorry, it's Panthers.
There you go.
Same
Yeah,
color,
yeah,
both
yeah.
light blue. My bad.
That's fair.
Titans
that's
was
fair.
a phenomenal
I
pick.
knew
It was
what you
actually the
meant
first
to,
pick. I meant the Panthers. Titans was actually a fantastic pick.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Let the record show. That was a fantastic pick. The
I
Panthers is what I meant.
I agree. I love this pick. Same thing. The only one I'm seriously displeased with is the Panthers. I, as the Raiders GM, probably would have gone O-line or D-line instead of Genty. And I like how many teams are going O-line and D-line.
Yeah.
I think that's just teams are playing it smarter and safer this year. I think that's what it looks like. There are a lot of O-line and D-line guys going. I love that pick from the Saints. That's
Yeah.
just I feel like more GMs are just going with their gut and going with, we know over time what wins chips, and it's build up the trenches, then get your stars. Great pick. Great pick.
Absolutely. We have another pick coming right now. It's the Bears' 10th pick in the draft.
That was quick.
That's right, Colleen.
Yeah, right.
The
They knew
schedule
this.
release
They
marks
knew.
a pivotal moment in the NFL calendar. It sets the stage for a thrilling season. Yeah, this is when we get to geek out over every
They're
single
geeking out.
game and bye week, the
We have
primetime revenge and
people
rematches,
walking out to the mic
those
now.
late season divisional dates that end up deciding playoff spots. And who's playing at Lambeau in December? Ooh, we're gonna have to find out. You'll find out soon, okay?
Find out.
How about these rookies, the
Eager to
players
find
who
out,
are
yeah.
drafted here tonight? When and where do they make their NFL debuts? We're gonna find that out as well. Let's not forget the expanding lineup of international games as well as Christmas,
This will be fun.
Thanksgiving Day. There's so many captivating
Love the
matchups.
Christmas
It's the
games.
best.
Yeah.
Yes, because nothing says holiday cheer like watching your team destroy another.
Or
So,
lose, like the
without
Giants.
further ado, everybody,
destroyed.
get it together, mark your calendar,
get
set
destroyed
your
like the
alarms.
Giants.
Schedule will be dropped on
Oh.
May 14th.
Drum roll.
There we go.
3 days
Lock it
before
in.
we graduate.
We can't wait. You can tweet it out, tell everybody, and don't miss it. Be sure to check out all the great content from the NFL team sites, the club's social channels around the schedule release. Tune into NFL Network as well as ESPN2. So much. Full coverage of the thrilling 2025 matchups. May 14th just around the corner, too. I know. It's basically here at this point. Guys, get ready and buckle
Basically
up
here.
for the greatest season of your lives.
It's a bold take.
I've seen the Giants' schedule. It's not going to be the greatest the greatest season of my life.
2 Eagles, 2 Cowboys, 2 Commanders,
Lions.
Chiefs,
We're beating the Cowboys
Lions,
twice.
Chargers.
We're beating the Cowboys twice for the first time in forever.
I'm gonna need you to debate Bill Tuds on that one because it was
And
Will. I think
Brendan
it was Will.
Shorey.
Yeah, I think they both said that they
Brendan
would drop
Shorey, not
both
a
to the
fan.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
We'll see. I just think the
It's a
Cowboys are
maybe.
gonna
I think they could get one from the Cowboys.
I think they could too.
Yeah.
We'll get one.
Depending on who they draft.
The phantom draft pick.
That's the only thing I think that would make me second to. This also reminds me of a Moneyball quote, which I'll quote after. right under me loving how much the Giants
I already know the
good
quote.
draft pick. Right down here is Cowboys bad draft pick.
Here
Right.
is the pick for the Bears.
Yesterday, the NFL family lost a true legend, Bears Hall of Famer Steve McMichael. My heart is with the McMichael family during this incredibly difficult time. Misty, please know that you are in our thoughts and prayers. Mongo's remarkable contributions to the game and the community will never be forgotten.
Very classy.
His legacy will
classy.
continue to inspire generations to come. 50 years ago, with the 4th pick in the 1975 NFL Draft, The Chicago Bears selected one of Stephen Michaels' teammates and closest friends, Walter Payton, running back, Jackson State.
It's really cool.
Walter would go on to rush for nearly 17,000 yards and 110 touchdowns over 13 seasons, all with the Chicago Bears. As you heard earlier, the NFL continues to honor Sweetness not only for his performance and excellence on the field, but also his commitment to give back to his community with the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award. So with the 10th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft,
They need to get those boos in. They couldn't do it.
waiting to sneak them in.
Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan.
Wolverine, I love it.
They looked like they wanted that all the way.
Yep.
Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren in the draft.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone saw that coming. You'd think if you're going tight end
wait,
here,
that just
you're
clicked. Wow.
The unanimous number one, which was Tyler Warren. There wasn't even a question.
Oh my God.
Who the quote unquote best tight end was? It was Tyler. He
Yeah.
was getting Rob Gronkowski comparisons.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Colston Loveland. I mean, you were watching him all year. What'd you see?
Well, yeah, and the other thing that's interesting about taking Loveland first is he also battled some injury troubles this past season with Michigan. He played, but he had to miss some games due to injury. But I guess I would say that I really I like the pick. It's just interesting with Warren still available. I don't know if that entirely makes sense to me, but they must have saw something probably in his route running ability. That's something that was very valuable to Michigan when he was part of their team. He was somebody that you could line up in the slot. You could line him out wide. He could run routes kind of like a wide receiver, even though he was a tight end. So he's very much like one of those dual threat guys, like we were talking about earlier, much like Warren, in the sense that he is a good blocker, but is also a route runner, almost like a wide receiver is, with great hands. So there's nothing to dislike about the pick, other than who was available.
Yeah, it's kind of
at the same position.
Yeah, it seems to me like they're going with a different type of tight end.
Right.
See, Tyler Warren is the George Kittle, the Rob Gronkowski, always in a 3-point stance. Will get involved in
More
the
of
run
a body.
game. More of a body, more of brute force, more running through tackles.
More jump ball type.
Yes, yeah. And then you look at Travis Kelce, you look at guys like Loveland, and it's more of, you're looking at Kyle Pitts, it's a mismatch. You're looking for that guy to get lined up on a safety, on an outside backer, and boom, that's immediately a problem because he's so swift with his routes. So maybe Caleb Williams, as we know, great quarterback, great at finding mismatches. They're playing into that game a little bit more, give Caleb more help, and our line needs less help than Caleb. I don't know.
The only thing I could see is them looking, they thought Loveland was more of a receiver. That's really, to me, the only place that makes sense, because I also think Tyler Warren's a better blocker than Loveland is. So I have to imagine they took the receiving prowess and is the main thing.
They're totally in weapons mode. Like you go Dunze last year, and then you go more of a receiving tight end this year. It's bold. I do kind of like it though. Like you give Caleb. So Caleb Williams is a different situation than a lot of quarterbacks where I say like, all right, he's really good enough. Just get him a lot of weapons. Like obviously, I wouldn't have been upset with a better blocking tight end or a good O-line, but he's one of those guys you can get away with where you just feed him weapons, and he can maybe make more out of it than other young quarterbacks.
2 tight end set too. Cole Kmet.
Ooh.
I always love me a solid 2 tight end set, especially at the size that both of those guys
about Cole
are at.
Kmet.
Yeah,
you're right.
He's not a standout kind of guy like that, but he's still very good. He can give you some big games sometimes.
And Kmet is that blocker, so they had the blocker. Cole Kmet makes this make a lot more sense.
So they're beefing up the line even more so, and now adding another receiver.
Yeah.
It makes sense for them. I like it for them. They'll be fine. They'll be solid. Tough division for them, but yeah, it's a solid pick. The 49ers pick is in commercial break right now. We also have about 10 minutes to go in our show,
and we're about to play one more game of musical chairs. Let's do this.
Run them around.
Let's play it.
We have a deep bench here at FUV. We cycle players in and out. We're not like the Knicks.
Who's it going to be? It's gonna be Tucker Austin?
I got to check the score of the next game. Knicks up 8, by the way. With
Knicks
there you
are up
go.
8.
There you go.
Knicks are up 8.
They heard what I was saying.
Yeah.
Tibbs heard. Brendan Shorey, any outstanding thoughts on the recent picks we heard?
As a Cowboys fan, I love that Panthers pick of T-Mac. Yeah, because I want Golden. So that means we're probably getting our guy.
Yeah.
You don't think Cowboys could go like defensive?
No.
Never heard.
They need that weapon, right? They need a weapon.
We need a weapon.
Okay.
What was the other one? I had one more. Confusing pick from the Bears.
Yeah.
Very
I thought so,
confusing.
too.
I thought they were going to go defense, which is shocking.
Yeah.
But
Walker's still there. Johnson's still there.
I thought they were going to go
Starks.
Johnson.
There's a lot of good defensive, like really good defensive players.
Feels like Niners are just gonna
they'll get
Johnson or
involved in
Walker.
that. Yeah.
I think they got Walker. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with either of those guys. And that was the Niners last season. Had a problems with their defense. Fred Warner getting hurt. Everyone kind of getting hurt. Hafunga got hurt.
Dre Greenlaw's gone now too.
Dre Greenlaw gone.
It actually makes me upset because it feels like the Cowboys can't blow this. There are too many good picks available after. Even no matter who the Niners pick, there's
Wish
still.
they took McMillan.
I wouldn't have been opposed to McMillan. I just would rather Golden here.
Sure.
Yeah,
which it looks like is a very big possibility.
Yeah. With the Niners here, I think they go Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson just has that like 49er mentality
I
about
forgot
him.
Travarius Ward's also gone.
Yeah.
They could use both of them.
Yes, yeah. Ward gone. They still need, they need DBs badly.
Yeah.
I think Starks or Johnson here, I think is, they have, or what did you say happened to Dre Greenlaw? Hurt last year?
Oh, he's gone now. He's with the Broncos.
Oh, right.
Wild.
So only Fred Warner there. So it doesn't rule Walker
They
out.
could go any direction here.
Yeah.
Defensively.
Gotta be defense.
As long as they pick defense, it's not the wrong pick.
Right. Yeah. Or do they go receive? They just lost Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk.
I don't
think
think
they're good enough.
I don't think that's a huge
Bad
loss.
injury.
I feel like, honestly, like after last season,
With
still
Jennings
still
and
have
Ricky
Kittle.
Jennings and Pearsall can come in and fill
Yeah.
those shoes.
Jennings looked really good.
Jennings,
He did
honest,
look really
I'm
good.
taking as a pure wide receiver. I'm taking Jennings over Debo right now. So
Yeah, that's probably true. Debo more of like a hybrid guy for sure.
Yeah.
But the Niners, another team that really can't miss. Like that's what I'm talking about this like around 10 spot. Like these teams aren't really bad and they like have quarterbacks. They just need like accessories. It's so much of a different mentality than that first 8, that first 6 where you're like, we need a quarterback and a tackle and a D end and that's all we need. Like unless you're going to see Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors, no one's thinking receiver at that point. I think it was a surprise to see McMillan and Loveland be the first tight end and receiver, though. I don't think anybody thought that. But with the pick is actually in now for the Niners, and we'll hear it from Roger Goodell in just one moment. He likes to take his time walking to the stage. It was crazy that they had to sneak the booze in.
It's crazy.
On that on the last pick. They let him go on his like really nice wholesome spiel, and then they were like, "Go!" And
the memorial for Walter Payton, and then the second there was a gap.
Yeah, they got it in there.
The minimum amount of class you can get away with
Yeah.
as like NFL fans.
They were like, "We're not going to boo this."
Yeah, we won't boo.
We'll let the memorial happen.
Yeah.
But once it's back to being about the Bears,
then
we'll
we're
hop
gonna
in,
boo.
and now we'll boo. Keep the rivalry strong.
Good old Packers fans. One of the best rivalries in sports history. My favorite. Here's the pick.
Here he comes.
Wow. Heavy USA.
Thank you to our men and women who serve in the United States military for
That's
your
why.
sacrifices to defend our country's freedom. With the 11th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Michael Williams, defensive end, Georgia.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Michael Williams, 5 sacks last year. 2 of those came in the
Makes sense.
Michael Williams at 11th overall to the San Francisco 49ers. Like we were saying, they just needed a dog on defense. Georgia produces literal bulldogs on defense. Like everyone on Georgia's defense has that mentality we were speaking about with Mason Graham before. It's just like a fierce, we're not scared, you should be scared of us mentality. And I think that Williams has that as well.
Yeah, they missed out on Joey Bosa during the offseason. He got snatched right from them, and now they got their guy to pair across from Nick Bosa. It's going to be a scary pass rush.
Yeah, it's gross. It's going to make their secondary better, too. You know, you help your secondary without drafting secondary. This guy's going to be a force. Yeah, Yeah, it's a no-brainer to go defensive weapon. Williams is a great pick.
The less time they have to be in coverage, the easier it is.
True.
So.
And the Niners are so good at sculpting these defensive players. Like you see a really good defender go to like a team like the Niners, and you're like, oh, he's gonna be great. Like there's no like he'll have the best coach teaching him. Like he'll be fine over there.
You look at who they have. I mean, Fred Warner wasn't necessarily like a big shiny pick. Drake Greenlaw was not a first-round pick. A lot of their D linemen, same thing. You look at their secondary. Trivarius Ward was kind of bounced around a little bit before coming there, but they make all these guys play to their strengths and they play well.
Absolutely. The pick is actually in for your boys,
quick.
them boys, the Cowboys. Roger Goodell not coming up to the stand just yet, but their pick is actually in. Who are they going to take?
I want Golden.
Yeah,
I want
you think I got
Matthew
it?
Golden. If it's anyone other than Matthew Golden, it's the wrong pick.
Yeah, wow.
That's bold.
Did you upset with a Will Johnson in there? A little.
I would, because I think you look at our corner room and we have Deron Bland, who's played well. Trayvon Diggs coming back off that injury.
Yeah, Diggs.
Hopefully should be well. But then you look, Gilmore was seen at the Cowboys practice facility earlier today, Stephon Gilmore. So bringing him back would give us a solid third option, like a good nickel guy there. So I really, I don't want a corner here.
Makes sense.
Honestly, like their draft pick kind of speaks how confident they could be in even landing Gilmore. Like if they go corner here, maybe that speaks not like Gilmore isn't as realistic. They aren't as likely to land Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably go offensive. I do agree with you. Like they do need a weapon.
Yeah.
Maybe you just take a good tight end. Maybe you take Warren.
Tyler Warren.
He's
sitting right there.
You know.
I like Ferguson. I like Ferguson. I like Fergie. Fergie's good.
Yeah, no,
not bad.
Fergie's good.
Fergie's not
Fergie's
bad.
good. That's like tight. Like every team has a good tight end. Like there's like no one's a bad tight end, but we have the pick right here.
With the 12th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Booker, guard, Alabama.
Hey, O-line.
He was a first-team All-American who just turned 21.
First team All-American.
So you have the floor here.
I have nothing to say.
Yes.
Let's go.
I have absolutely nothing to say about that.
I mean, it's O-line. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a safer pick.
We don't
Now
we
what
don't
do you
need O-line. We don't need O-line. We need skill positions.
Yeah. Maybe they think they're gonna sign someone.
Dak needs his
story of-
protection for sure. I feel like he hasn't had the right protection last season, at least. Wasn't able to shine the way he was in previous seasons before that, you know? Little rotation. A little bit
I'm
of.
sorry, man.
Little bit
I'm
of.
sorry. It's clear that you're disappointed with that pick. I'm
A
sorry.
little bit of emotional support
It's
here.
okay. It's
It's what teammates are for.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Look at this, man.
Working as a unit.
That's 3 years in a row now. We've gone offensive line in the first round.
Is it 3 in a row?
You know what?
That's
I wish
a
the Giants would
scary
do that.
thing for me as a
Yeah.
Giants fan.
I would
Because
love
I remember
that.
the Cowboys having the best offensive line in the league for like 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
Once all those guys were like 30.
Cool. Dak has time now. Who does he throw to?
Brandon Cooks.
Cooks is gone. Cooks is gone now. We don't even have Cooks anymore.
That's so funny.
CeeDee Lamb triple covered.
Yeah.
That's what it's got to be now, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, that is what it's going to
That's
be.
Jerry
at this
Jones'
point.
plan.
Devontae Turpin. Paris Campbell, former Giant legend.
about
Paris
Turpin.
Campbell.
You want him
Yeah,
back?
Paris Campbell. No. No.
How about a Brevin Span Ford? That's
Michael
a real
Gallup.
Cowboy, apparently.
Michael Gallup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cowboys
no.
legend.
I don't hate it. Like I feel like a guard. It's hard to be mad at your team when you get like a good offensive lineman. I feel like. You know?
I feel like we already had the offensive line kind of set up. Though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like they had. I mean, it was really Jerry was preaching how much we needed skill positions going into this draft.
That's interesting.
That is odd for them.
And then
Maybe
they
that's
don't go
mind
skill
games by
position.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't like this pick at all.
Wow.
I mean, here's the thing.
Well,
Continue.
I guess here. I mean, trying to look at the bright side.
Sure.
You can put him at left guard, move Tyler Smith to left tackle, move Tyler Guyton back out to right tackle where he played in college.
Right.
So that should
It's
work out.
revamping the
So
O-line.
that in that way it works out well, but I feel like we could have gotten a guard later.
You probably could
Okay.
have. That's not a bad point, yeah.
That's a reasonable. That makes a lot of sense actually.
One thing I will say
Get the
is,
stud now, get the guard later.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but one thing, like, this is a Giants perspective, is we a lot of times will draft O-linemen, and then before we even get to the first game of the season, half of them are injured. And it's like, well, I wish we did this 3 years
That's
in
true,
a row
that's
so we
true.
still had guys. And
Linemen do get hurt.
And it was always frustrating looking at, like, the Cowboys, the Patriots always had their second guys were just ready to go, especially O-linemen. and the Giants never had that. And I wish the Giants would go O-line 3 years in a row. You know what I mean? But I get what you mean. Like, you do need weapons.
Yeah.
So
we've CD and no one else.
Yeah.
Hearing from Tucker Austin, it actually took them till well under a minute to make that pick. So
Oh,
maybe Jerry was fiddling back there, struggling a little bit, panicking a little bit. Maybe he wanted Loveland really bad. I don't know.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
Life of being a Cowboys fan. I get it from the Giants' perspective, but it's the life of following Jerry Jones around. It's just so frustrating.
That's horrible. Yeah, I wouldn't
It's
want
so
that.
frustrating.
Yeah. Well, we got the Dolphins now.
Well, yeah, Dolphins coming up, but I think that's going to do it for us here at FUV for our draft special. We saw a lot of picks. We saw a lot of picks we all thought were good. We saw some picks that we thought were questionable. Absolutely. I think us Giants fans maybe got the guy we wanted. It's a plus. I think Jack got the guy he wanted as well. Brendan, I think there's still some studs out there. There's some good guys that are going to come. For maybe Jerry knew something the rest of us don't about second-round
I better
receivers.
see you trade up into the second round so we get 2 second-round picks.
Yeah.
Or trade back into the first. I better see some sort of magic that Jerry has going on.
Well, to your point, there's a lot of draft left, so stay tuned for it. Even though that's it from us here at WFUV, we had Jack Warner, Tucker Austin, Will Tallant, Eli Keeler, Brendan Shorey, and myself, Evan Harkin, filling you in on everything you needed to know about those first few picks in the draft. Even got a little bit of outside of the Giants and just the Jets pick. Got out of the top 10 a little bit. So we got some good stuff here from us at WFUV. Watch the rest of the draft. Be a good fan of your team. Be happy with your pick. It's the draft. It's the Super Bowl for some teams, just like mine, the New York Giants. Saying so long as Evan Harkin and WFUV Sports.